Shane Beamer made his way into the post-game press conference room Saturday afternoon, Cole, like a coach who knows he's got one more chance to get it right at offensive coordinator, or it's probably his job. It's probably his tenure in South Carolina. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. My name is Diesel. Whether you're a Clemson fan or a South Carolina fan, you're disappointed in the way your team played this weekend. You got every reason to be, more so down in Columbia than in Clemson. Backup quarterback came in and played well. It just wasn't enough against a really good football team. But Cole, is it wrong to say that the honeymoon period with Shane Beamer is over amongst South Carolina fans? Because I received multiple direct messages and tweets at me while I was live tweeting the game on Saturday that it's time for Shane Beamer to go. And if a couple of people are willing to say it out loud, then there's a lot of people who won't say it out loud, or they'll say it privately. And then there's a lot more people who won't say anything at all, but they do believe it.
Yeah, the honeymoon period's definitely over. To answer your question, Diesel, it's over, and it ended quickly because I'll tell you, it's just a byproduct, Diesel, of this new era of college football and how quickly things can change, and how the only thing that matters is what have you done for me lately. That's completely sums up what kind of era we live in when it comes to college football. You said Beamer has one more shot at getting it right. Well, the good thing is he doesn't have to worry about Alabama next week, or Ole Miss next week, or A&M the next, right? Or next year, the same schedule, or, Georgia on this. That's a good thing. Oh, no, I'm wrong. He does. So to your point about him getting it right, there's a lot of pressure on Shane Beamer right now, Diesel, and I think that what you saw and what we all saw and heard in the postgame was just a byproduct of that pressure that's on Shane Beamer right now.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dynamic in the SEC when you're a program that is not used to tippy top of the conference level success. In some ways, it's easier to bring a program back from that level. And in some ways, it's harder to bring a program back when it's at that level, right? It's easier because you got $55, $60 million coming in from the conference every year. You got a fan base that shows up. South Carolina fans, you deserve a lot of credit. Even with the state fair going on across the road, that stadium for the first half at least was about 90, maybe a little bit more, 90% full. You got the fan base. They've got money. They will spend it because they certainly don't like seeing those so's and so's down at Ole Miss having all the success, or over at Vanderbilt having all that success. Over our dead body, we'll throw some money at this thing and see if we can get a better coach. And Cole, because you can also, in the transfer portal, you can make a tremendous impact in just one off season. It's not the way that it used to be, where it would take 3-4 recruiting classes to bring a team back. But also, you're in the SEC, and basically everybody in this conference is back most years, right? I mean, I know Florida is down, but Vandy, a team that's never been there, is all of a sudden there. And Mississippi State, a team that has been down for a long time, is suddenly back. So you can do it. You can bring it back. The blueprint is there. You just got to find some magic in that old silk hat and run roughshod over a league that nobody expects you to.
And the tough part is, Diesel, to your point and your original question about the honeymoon with Shane Beamer, I was having this conversation Saturday night with a friend of mine who's a South Carolina fan, and he's always been anti-Shane Beamer, and even when most of the fan base was for Shane Beamer, he was one of the anti-Shane Beamer fans. I think for the majority of the fan base now, they're at the crossing roads. They're at the crossroads. They're at the point where they have to decide. I think, going back to what I said a minute ago, Diesel, I believe things have changed quickly. And guess what? Just as they have changed quickly in a negative manner, they can still change quickly in a positive manner as well. The only problem is with them changing quickly in a positive manner, your offensive coordinator is terrible. Your offensive line's still not great. And you have Bama, Ole Miss, and A&M the next 3 weeks. So
no time to figure it out, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like we can say all this about like, yeah, things can get better, but guess what? Florida's showing us, Penn State's showing us, all these other programs are showing us that time is of the essence. And Diesel, I just don't know. I today still believe Shane Beamer's job is safe. I'm not there yet. But I just don't know how much time Shane Beamer's going to have if this thing goes south. They've got 3 wins right now. And you really look at this schedule and see 4, maybe 5 at best. At worst, probably 4 with a win over Coastal.
Yeah, and you know, when you try to break this thing down piece by piece, you can definitely point to the first half of that game and say, hey, the offensive line played tremendously better than they had coming into this game. There was not a single offensive penalty until I think late in the third quarter, and that was a pass interference that resulted in a first down. They didn't have their first pre-snap penalty call until 56 seconds to go in the third. That is something to hang your hat on. That is saying right there that Sean Elliott got to these players and imparted some discipline upon them for this game, and that improved.
Yeah, but is that where you want to be? Is that where
it's where you have to be, though. It's where you have to be. Otherwise, you go straight to that point where you're Dewey and everything sucks and everybody needs to be fired. And hey, maybe we're rapidly approaching that point anyway with Shane Beamer. Here was his opening statement from the press conference. If you guys haven't heard this press conference audio, and yes, we'll play the clip, the one that's got everybody talking about Shane Beamer. Here was his opening statement for that press conference.
And not a whole lot to say about that one. Pretty disappointing. Apologize to our fans, asked them to show up. They certainly did their part and early in the game and were loud and nowhere near good enough to win. Questions?
Wow. Sweet, succinct, and to the point.
He's pissed, Diesel.
Yeah.
He's pissed off, and I can tell based on that and also listening to him throughout the other questions, and especially with Jack, like he has so much pressure on him. And I think Diesel, Shane Beamer knows what we all know is that like he's not in the ACC. There's not a few weeks where he can figure this thing out and buy himself some wins and kick the can down the road. Ultimately, what Shane Beamer knows is that even though he's a coach, Diesel, and the coaches say we're 1 week at a time, he knows what lies ahead. And he knows that the reality is they could be 4-8. Is that right? Is that equal? Is that the right math on that?
Very good chance they don't make a bowl game this year.
And if they're a 4-win team at the end of the season, to your point, they're not making a bowl. And then the question becomes, hey, to heck with Mike Shula. We're not worried about that. We're worried about our head coach. If we're a 4-win team, you and I in 2 months from now will be having the conversation of the Shane Beamer come back next year. That's the reality of it.
I mean, sitting in that press box, and it's I still love. I know you don't feel the same way as I do. I still love the press box at Clemson where you're outside and you can hear the noise of the crowd. At South Carolina, you're behind glass. Yeah, they have big windows up high that they can open up and get some of that outside crowd noise. But to me, that matters. And if we're completely enclosed behind glass, which you are at Tennessee, by the way, I've covered a game at Tennessee. It's a very neutered experience being in the press box at Tennessee. You don't hear the fire Shula chants firing up in the second quarter of that game. You don't hear the boo birds coming out multiple times throughout that game. I mean, a lot of it was when they were on offense, obviously, when O-line play started to break down into the second quarter, going into the third and the fourth, when the it just came off the rails. That O-line just couldn't stand up to Oklahoma's defense anymore. And credit, Oklahoma has an amazing defense. They have a really, really, really good defense. Might be one of the worst defenses you could face if you're trying to get your offensive line figured out. But all of a sudden, Lenoris goes from having 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds in the pocket, wide open, clean pocket throughout the majority of that first half. He goes to scrambling for his life for the entire second half of that game. And then you can't get anything going. But really what made me angry for South Carolina fans was how they botched the ending of that first half. You get the ball back with 27 seconds to go, Cole. You have one timeout. You need to move the ball down the field or at least try to get into field goal range. I don't know how good South Carolina's kicker is, so I'm going to say you probably need to reach roughly the 30-yard line if you want to get off a makeable attempt at a field goal. And then what do? They throw across the middle for 7 yards, throw across the middle for 7 yards, throw across the middle for 7 yards. Boom, half is done. You didn't even get a chance at it. You didn't even try to throw to the sideline. And Shane Beamer, I asked him this question in the postgame press conference. He said Oklahoma did a great job defending the sideline. Maybe that's true. Maybe they gave you across the middle, but by God, Lenora Sellers, by God, wide receivers, why are you running a 7-yard route when you need to get 10 yards to stop the damn clock?
But Diesel, what you're upset about has been happening all year.
I know.
I mean, this has been all year. I mean, this has been since game one. So, yeah, I understand why you're upset if you're a Gamecock fan, but this is nothing new. What you saw to end the first half, that's every week. That is every week. So, you seeing it up close and personal, that's how those 100,000 Gamecock fans or 90,000 Gamecock fans that go every week feel. And it goes back to Mike Shula. And, the sad reality of it is I don't believe there's anything left to save the season. I know Gamecock fans will say, yeah, we could upset Alabama and that sure would help. But here's the reality. Diesel, we have to remember that, yes, sports are played on the field and they're not played on paper. And while South Carolina is going to be the underdog the next 3 against Bama, Ole Miss, and A&M, they're not winning any of those football games. They're just not. I don't care if Sean Elliott times 20 comes out there and they have 0 penalties. I don't care about that. Penalties, to heck with the penalties. That's wonderful. Raise a banner and say, hey, we didn't have any penalties. The offense sucks. Mike Shula sucks. That has nothing to do with me to when you talk about I love Sean Elliott as much as anybody, but that's, like I said last week, that wasn't addressing the problem. That was just firing someone because I guess Shane Beamer felt pressure and had to fire somebody. He never addressed the problem by firing Lonnie Teasley. That was just something to appease the fan base and I guess Jeremiah Donati. The reality is they're staring a 4-win season right smack in the face. And you, Shane Beamer, Diesel, you heard the frustration. You, Shane Beamer, are left with the task of, and to your point, in this new era, it is fixable, it's doable, but you've got to make changes. And boy, isn't it funny? Isn't it weird, Diesel, how both programs are kind of in a very similar situation right now?
Yeah.
And we're going to get to Clemson in the next segment, but Mike Shula cannot step foot back on campus when this season comes to an end. I don't know why he wasn't fired last week. I know that Mike Shula is a pro and he's been around the block, and him and Bieber probably get along and see eye to eye behind closed doors, but there's just nothing you see on the football field that makes you believe that this guy's going to turn this thing around.
Well, we've seen that before out of Shane Beamer. His refusal to move on from certain assistants that he may be close with, he may be buddies with, and he keeps them around a little bit longer than he should. I mean, certainly it's not a great look when it comes to recruits. We don't know how many recruits signed up to play for Mike Shula or signed up to come to South Carolina because of Mike Shula, and how many guys they might lose if they decided to move on from him, especially if they did back-to-back firings in back-to-back weeks. And our friend Jack Veltri asked Shane Beamer about that, basically saying, hey, Shane, when are you going to fire Mike Shula? And Shane got testy. Shane got really testy, and I'm not surprised with Shane. We've seen this from him before. Shane, very frustrated, openly wears it on his sleeve. In my opinion, was incredibly disrespectful to our friend Jack Veltri. I don't know if he'll issue an apology in the same way that Brian Kelly of LSU did when he snapped at a reporter, but this was Jack's question and then Shane's subsequent response.
It's 7 games now. The offense has just continued to struggle. At some point, do you feel like a change is needed, whether it's
I made a change last week, Jack. And then
I'm talking about the play calling.
Every week we're continuing to look at how to be better, and every week I do that. And every week I will continue to do that and continue to evaluate that.
What gives you hope that the play
next question?
Okay.
What gives me hope? I see the way we practice during the week. What gives me hope? I see the number of guys that we had out today that I wasn't even sure was going to be able to play, that fought their asses off to get back out there and get healthy and be able to play today. What gives me hope? I know the talent we have on our offense. And what I just told our team, we're not playing up to our potential right now. I'm not am not getting the most out of this team right now, offensively, defensively, and special teams.
You know how we rip Dabo sometimes for taking an opportunity to turn a question onto what talking points he wants to talk about rather than actually answering the question? Because I don't know for sure. Only Jack knows where exactly he was going with that question. But I'm sure he was thinking, what gives you hope that the play calling will get better if you leave Mike Shula in that role? And Shane Beamer cuts him off and says, what gives me hope is the guys that we have on this roster and how hard we practice and how together we are. And that's great, Shane. But that wasn't the question Jack was going to ask. You cut him off. You acted petulant, as we've seen Shane behave before. And I don't know if he'll send Jack a message or in some way reach out or leave it like that. But man, that was tough.
You know, I talked to Jack on the way home from Clemson Saturday night, Diesel, on the phone for a few minutes, and Jack handled it like a pro because he is a pro. But I will say this: my thoughts on that exchange. Number one, I didn't have a problem with Beamer getting testy. That's coaching. That happens like in the NFL and in big markets in New York City and LA and Dallas. Go listen to some of their press conferences if you think that's bad. So I don't have a problem with Shane getting testy and kind of cutting him off or anything like that. I do have a problem with the answer because Shane Beamer, let's be real, Shane Beamer knew the question Jack was asking. The 100%. Sure. He knew what Jack was implying because Jack's asked that question just about every week, and we'll have Jack on tomorrow as we do every Tuesday, Diesel. But my problem is the response of I've seen what happens in practice. Like that to me, if you're a South Carolina fan, you should hear that and think, oh my God, this guy's got to go. That's embarrassing.
Trust me, bro. I know how good we could be.
And practice. I mean, that's a classic Allen Iverson. Like, what are we doing here? And that's your answer and you're speaking to the entire fan base on a Saturday night, and you're telling the fan base that what gives you hope is practice. That's pathetic. And that should be, Diesel, that should be at the top of mind. I mean, that should worry the heck out of Gamecock fans, the fact that Beamer thinks what he sees in practice against his own team. You know, newsflash, they don't play Ole Miss and Bama and A&M in practice. I don't know if you Tolos out there know that or not. They play South Carolina. And we know South Carolina is not a very good football team. So, yeah, what they look like in practice might be fine and dandy. And it might be fine and dandy when you go play Clemson in a few weeks because that team's not good either. But when you're playing a really good Oklahoma team that you saw, Diesel, in person, and a really good Alabama team and a really good Ole Miss and a really good A&M, what happens in practice, Doc, that doesn't matter. Like that, it has nothing to do with practice. There's players that practice really bad but play really well. There's players that play really practice really well, but when they get under those lights, that they just pee down their leg. You've got to figure out how you can encourage this fan base and give this fan base hope other than just saying, well, what I've seen in practice gives me hope.
Well, at the very least, they were going into halftime 14-7. South Carolina had it inside the 5. Shula tried to get cute and throw the ball a couple times, and obviously trying to run against that gigantic wall of an Oklahoma defensive line. Nobody is finding success at that this season, Cole. But I was shocked. I was genuinely surprised that second quarter when they went down and scored after having just been stopped on 4 downs inside the 5-yard line, they let Lenoris Sellers go for it again on 4th down, scored the touchdown. They could have kicked a field goal, and we were talking about a 26-3 ball game and not a single offensive score off of Lenoris Sellers' hand.
So I watched most of the game live. I was at a friend's tailgate, and then I went back Sunday and watched the game over again. Listen, you can talk all you want to about the players that South Carolina has or the wide receivers not running the right. Every situation is different, and we're going to get to Clemson in the next segment because they have their own problems, and their problems are caused by something different. I watched South Carolina's offense snap the ball with zero protection. Lenoris would be left, Lenoris would be right. And when Lenoris was scrambling left or Lenoris was scrambling right, all you saw, you can go back and watch the all 22 tape as well and see this clear as day. When Lenoris needs help, when Lenoris needs a bailout man because the offensive line's so bad, the receivers are literally still running down the field. So that 110% falls on the offensive coordinator. I mean, that is Mike Shula. That is his job to design plays. If you know your offensive line is bleep, you've got to design plays that helps your bleep offensive line and your quarterback get the ball out quickly, because when he's scrambling out left or right and the panic button has been hit, he's looking downfield, Diesel, and all he sees are butts and backs because they're still running. There's no kind of comeback routes. There's nothing underneath. There's no safety valve. There's no tight end. There's no running back in the flat. Nothing for Lenora Sellers. So somebody told me the other day, Lenore's just hadn't played well this year. Bull crap. I don't want to hear that. Lenora Sellers, Diesel, has no offensive line and the worst play caller I've ever seen in college football. I don't put much blame. Has he done bad things? Yes. But I don't put a lot of weight and a lot of blame on Lenora's play in 2025. So
Lenora Sellers is what year of what classification is he? He's a sophomore. I know that Lenora's loves South Carolina, but by God, I think it's Lenora Sellers' best interest to either go pro immediately or transfer out somewhere that's got an offensive line that will allow him to show his talent and prove that he is a top 5 draft pick worthy player.
Well,
because he's not going to get that at South Carolina.
I'm not coming back if Shula's the OC. I mean, there's just no way. And I can tell you this, I don't have any inside information, but there's no way in Hades that Mike Shula's coming back. There's just not. That guy's not being retained. I'll bet you anything you want. That's not happening. So I think you have to figure out a way. I'm not saying allow Lenora Sellers to pick the next OC, but you've got to choose the next OC, Diesel, who is going to bring, guess what? Here's the problem. Here's what sums it all up. Bring his expertise and say, okay, my quarterback is Lenora Sellers. What can I do to fit him? Not, hey, I'm pro-style Mike Shula. My dad, Coach Shula. Here's what we do. I'm going to try to mold Lenora's into what I do. No, that's not. That hasn't worked.
Yeah,
you've got to open this thing up, and that's what hasn't happened. A lot of comments to get to, Diesel, on the stream. Text line blowing up as well. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it goes back to my original point that when it comes time to hire a new offensive coordinator, whatever it is, this is Shane Beamer's last chance.
This is it.
This is his last chance, because if this offense looks like this next year, we're talking about a week 8 firing of Shane Beamer.
If he gets a chance, right? On the text line, 844-326-3663. My goodness, a lot to get to here. Leprechaun of Lyman says, I'd like to issue a formal apology. Cole, I guess you were not the jinx, plainly speaking, UNLV lost. Leprechaun, you're right. I will take that. And I know the other Tolos out there who did take SMU are ponying up. We're proud of that one. And I tried to tell y'all last week that was the easiest one. And if me, Diesel, who sucks at the upset picks challenge,
you just got lucky because we always give our picks on Wednesdays. You and I lead the charge, okay? And then you just hung back in the distance. You pulled kind of a Homer Simpson and sunk back into the bush and didn't make your pick until, what was it, Thursday or Friday? Thursday. And all of a sudden, you've got information that people who picked on Wednesday don't have.
Don't put the cart before the horse.
It was cheap. It was a cheap victory. I think you should get half points for that.
Texter says, this is D Fig. He says, hey, guys, I was not here during Clemson's prime days. Is it time for Dabo to leave Clemson? Is about what you can give me now, not what you have given me in the past. What are your thoughts, D-Fig? I'll answer that by telling you, just turn it on and leave it on today. We're talking Clemson and Carolina for 4 hours today. I mean, that's all it is. So much to react to, so much to get to. Your thoughts as well. One text here got cut into like a million pieces, and I believe it's from Keith and TR. Keith, sorry for this, but it got cut up. Keeping Shula, firing back at reporters like nothing is wrong, talking about Beamer there. I was thinking about it, and when Beamer was asked about the Virginia Tech job, he's talking about Virginia Tech. Sorry, your text got cut up in a lot of pieces, but we'll get to that. Let's see. On the stream, I did want to shout out, man, a lot of 78 of you Tolos already watching the show. T-Swizzle, Dewey, Puppy Monkey, Baby. Let's see, Kane. Phil Shifley says Oklahoma rushed 3 and got to Sellers. Let's see here. Ty Duncan says Boaz Stanley, the center, got absolutely destroyed every play. You're right. He did. Jersey Joe on the stream as well. A lot of Clemson and South Carolina conversation. Dan B on there as well. So, Tolos, keep the interaction coming. Phone lines are open as well, 844-326-3663.
And Keith in TR sent me a picture of this. This is apparently being posted on message boards and bulletin boards all over campus at South Carolina. They are planning a Fire Mike Shula protest tomorrow
Seen that.
at 3:00.
Buddy of mine sent that
How
to me.
about that?
And the best part is it's all stuck up on a bulletin board with just a good old fashioned, you got to love it.
Yeah.
But they are protesting something valid there. They really are. I mean, that guy, it's bad. I feel bad for Gamecock fans, but it's time to talk about the Tigers, who are also in a little bit of a trouble. So Clemson fans, I know you don't want to comment, but we want to hear from you. 844-326-3663. Clemson, SMU, what went wrong? We dive into it next. A Gamecock fan on Twitter over the weekend, Diesel, said the worst part about this season, the worst part about this football season is not that we suck, it's the fact that we can't win on a weekend Clemson loses. It's every time that they lose, we lose. The Gamecock fans just want to have a little joyful moments when Clemson loses. But guess what? Neither fan base right now, Diesel, can celebrate because what are they going to talk trash about? Both teams stink.
Yeah.
Both weekends stink. Everybody's weekend stinks. Saturdays stink. It's not a good time to be a Clemson Tiger or a Gamecock right now.
Yeah, it is. There is no joy in Mudville right now.
No.
The entire state of South Carolina, save that little corner up in Conway, is Mudville right now because they came from behind and beat App State in a wild football game.
Didn't think that was going to happen. Diesel, Clemson, SMU Saturday. You were in Columbia. I was in Clemson for this one. I don't know who lost the bet worse, but we were both subscribed to Misery and Pain on Saturday with what we had to watch. I have 5 takeaways. Clemson fans want to hear from you as well. 844-326-3663. I know a lot of you Clemson fans have already been on the text line and on the stream as well. Keep those comments coming. But Clemson SMU, Diesel, was not the game, or let me say it like this. It did not go the way I thought it would go. What I mean is on this Monday, I thought the story you and I would be talking about is how bad they need Cade Klubnik back. That was not the case. Christopher Vezina on Saturday, the starting quarterback for the Clemson Tigers against SMU, was pretty dang good on Saturday. And we leave that game after the SMU loss, and Clemson fans, Diesel, are obviously upset and frustrated because they lost the game. But they did not lose because of Christopher Vezina. He was the one bright spot, the one surprise that I think a lot of these fans can hang their hat on. Yes, it's one game against a really bad secondary, the worst in the ACC. But Christopher Vezina did not lose the Tigers the game on Saturday.
No, I mean, if you just go by stats, he had a pretty big day. 317 yards compared to Kevin Jennings' 290. That's pretty good. He had 3 touchdowns compared to Kevin Jennings' 2 touchdowns. Didn't throw any picks. It ultimately all comes down to the fact, Cole, that you got a wide receiver playing running back, and they're just not good enough running the football.
They're not. They can't block. The offensive line's terrible. Adam Randall, 10 carries, 29 yards. So let me run through these takeaways. Number 1, Clemson's secondary is absolutely pathetic. I don't know the last time, Diesel, even those Tommy Bowden teams, that I can recall Clemson's secondary being as bad as it is right now. I mean, safeties, corners, you name it. It is just, they look lost. They look so lost. And I don't know if the players that are on the field just aren't fitting Tom Allen's scheme or vice versa or what the problem is. But the secondary is pathetic. That's number 1. Number 2, like I said to start the segment, Vezina was not the issue. To the stats you just read out, Diesel, he was really good on Saturday. Like really, really good. He did not cost Clemson the game. Number 3, the defensive unit for Clemson as a whole, not only the secondary, it's massively underachieving. Do you realize, Diesel, that come April, you're going to have guys off that defense go first round in the NFL draft? Like several guys. Yeah. And with all of that NFL talent, the way that you watch that Clemson defense just look lethargic. I mean, no pulse at times. It just is mind-boggling.
It does beg the question, will we see a large chunk of those guys that we expected to go first round slip to the second and the third?
I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, they have this reputation. They have this built-up idea of who this Clemson defense is, and they may still look good on paper, and they may show out well in the combine and do well in their interviews, but a lot of them will have underperformed in their final opportunity to prove it on the field.
I think a lot of the scouts out there will use what happened last year for you talk about TJ Parker and Peter Woods to be specific. I think they'll still use a lot of that 2024 film. And I still think they'll go, especially those two will go first round. And to your point about the combines, I think they'll do fantastic and look really good. But for whatever reason, collectively, they're not playing collectively. There's no complimentary football right now. Diesel, I know you were in Columbia. every time Clemson needed a stop on Saturday, they couldn't get a stop. If Clemson scored on Saturday, it was like they just said, hey, we're going to take the defensive possession off. We're going to allow SMU to come down and score as well. They're massively underachieving. And when you talk about the hire of Tom Allen, it's mind-boggling. So that's 3. 4, you mentioned running back or converted running back, and run blocking has not gotten better. The offensive line, I know they have injuries. They're pathetic. The offensive line's not creating any holes. There were a few holes on Saturday for Randall Diesel, and one of them in the first half, I'm sitting there watching the press box. Randall's missing holes. Like, it's just like it's just there's no cohesiveness. Yeah. It's not getting any better. And then my 5th and final takeaway is the play calling. It is absolutely horrible. Garrett Riley is not doing Clemson or Christopher Vazina any favors, putting them in winnable situations, Diesel. If he runs the quarterback one more time for a gain of 2 yards, I just cannot believe we're having the same conversation with Clemson as we are South Carolina. But it is time, Diesel, for a hard reset in Clemson, because what's happening right now, it's pathetic.
Well, and I didn't get a chance to watch his post-game press conference, but the messages and the notifications start popping up as I was driving back from Columbia. Dabo Swinney leans on his resume. Haven't I earned this and haven't I earned that? At some point, when are those Clemson fans who are so deep in that cult of Clemson, when are they going to, lift their heads out of that sand and say, he's been giving us this same bogus line for how long? For the last 2 years, 3 years? Telling us that he won titles and he's won ACC championships and he's won 10 games. At what point does the resume not matter anymore? And if that's the case, legitimately answer this question, Clemson fans. Those of you who are hardcore Dabo supporters, would you be okay with missing bowl games and keeping Dabo Swinney around just because he won championships years ago?
Well, to answer your question, Diesel, I think you have to have hard conversations when this season's over. And I mean collectively, as a staff, administration. I wrote an article or a column this morning on the fanupstate.com. You can see it there. And Diesel, the headline of the column, I had these thoughts over the weekend. I wanted to get it out over the weekend. I didn't get a chance to until this morning. But the headline is, if you've thought it, it's time. Meaning anything in life, if you ever thought about losing weight, if you ever thought about gaining muscle, getting back in the gym, or thought about forgiving somebody, or thought about doing this, if you've thought it most likely it's probably time. So you can read that article on the fanupstate.com. I did a column there this morning. It's on the front page. But the point being, to bring that kind of on air, there's got to be, when this season's over, there's got to be some hard conversations between Graham Neff, Dabo, and that staff.
I'm glad you said that, because it seems as if the process has always been keep it internal. Dabo handles things, talks to his coordinators, they talk to the players, and that's how things are handled. I'm so glad that you said Graham Neff has to be in the room when these things are happening, because now Graham Neff has to start asking himself the hard question. Am I willing to do what it takes to get Clemson back to national championship winning form? And whatever that means, if that means putting the screws to Dabo Swinney and said, hey, you have to figure this out or I will fire you, then so be it.
Yeah, and Diesel, kind of to your point, here's where I am with that. I am in the camp that I believe when the season's over, that conversation needs to happen. And I am in the camp that believes that Dabo Swinney should be the coach that gets the opportunity to figure it out. I'm in that camp. I believe because of what Dabo's done for the university, no other coach has done, Dabo should be given the permission. He should be the one given the opportunity to do it, not somebody else. Now, with that being said, Dabo's got to have hard conversations with his staff. Dabo's got to have a little bit of accountability, and I think a lot of these friendships that Dabo has on staff with these Clemson guys, I think he's got to look in the mirror and ask himself, number one, am I willing to do the hard things now to keep my job down the road? And number two, am I willing to adapt and change how I mold this program so that we're not having these program conversations any longer? It's now becoming about the team, because you know this, he likes to go on these program rants. He did it about a month ago.
Right.
But in the new era of college football, it's not about programs anymore. It's about teams. And Dabo Swinney's got to understand that the program, that's great, that's nice. You've got the banners and the trophies, but all people care about right now is team. And I'm willing to be in the camp that, in my opinion, Dabo's the one that should be given the opportunity. However, I'm not saying that lease should be 5 years. I'm saying he should be given the opportunity to get Clemson back with stipulations of what's going to have to happen in order for Clemson to get back to that success.
Well, it begs the question, what is this program value? And you and I both know that Dabo's personal values are not going to change. They're just simply not. But the question is, what is the program value? Does it value winning, or does it value loyalty? And for the past couple of years, as Clemson has slowly slipped, Dabo has beat that drum of loyalty. I'm loyal to my players. The players that are loyal to me, we reward them with NIL. We reward loyalty, not winning.
Yeah.
And this program has to turn that corner and go back to valuing winning again, winning above all else.
And again, to your point, I agree with you. Loyalty in this new era of college football, loyalty has not found its place yet in this new era. What I mean is, Dabo Swinney, to your point, you brought it up. He has these internal values that a lot of which I agree with. There's nothing wrong with having, but I also believe that when you are now in this new era of college football, Diesel, you cannot have such a tight worldview almost. Worldview is going to be the word I use here. You can't have this tight tunnel vision of what you want the program to be. What I mean is, you can't only bring in players that fit your mold, hoping for those players to perform and exceed. Why? Because if you only bring in these high character, God-fearing players that you love and your family loves and you think are going to be great for the program and be great fathers, that's fine and dandy. But Diesel, it's like this. It's like if you go on Indeed and you go all to the, you know how you can go to filters when you're searching for a job, and you click the more filters you select, the less candidates you're going to have. Dabo Swinney's got to open up and maybe step back and say, okay, I'm willing to adapt and change, and I'm willing to bring in some guys. Let's bring in some dogs. This guy may have went to jail last week, but I don't care. I'm here to win football games.
Yeah.
He didn't graduate from Sunday school at New Spring last week. I don't care. I'm here to win football games. All that other stuff's fine and dandy when you're winning, but Dabo Swinney's got to adapt, and that starts right now, man. It's tough. Something's got to give.
Yeah, maybe the mindset needs to be, those players might be less disciplined. They might have checkered histories, but I want to bring them here to win football games and help them improve as individuals, help them become better men.
That's right.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But ultimately, what's one of the biggest tenets of Christians is to minister their faith.
Yeah.
Minister becoming a better person. Help that person turn the corner in their life and become a better person. Oh, yeah, and have them go out there and score a couple of touchdowns for you and get tackles for loss.
Well, it's like I said a few weeks ago, all the stuff on the outside's fine and dandy when you're winning, but when you're losing, everything's subject to criticism. And right now, everything that Dabo Swinney's doing is subject to criticism.
All those things, it's a great story, but what does it really mean when wins and losses are what matters?
Yeah, that's it.
In college football. When we come back, Cole, let's see what else is going on out there in the sports world. Tackle them all at once in one segment. We call it our Daily Wires. Oh, man. Dan B is sending me stats and upset picks standings, and I don't like what he just sent me, Cole. I'm going to show this to you, and you're going to be the only one who sees this right now. But look at the most recent thing that Dan just said to me.
Oh,
no.
my gosh.
That's a big one.
He knows ball.
That's a big one. That scares me. We'll get into that.
Oh, you know why? He called it. Remember? You remember. And what a bad day to be Madcraft right now. Is that guy alive? Yeah. Think about it. Miami and the Chargers got embarrassed over the weekend.
Let's get to our Daily Wires. The buzz happening around the sports world. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the Seattle Mariners Sunday 6-2. The ALCS is now tied 3-3. Game 7 tonight at 8:08.
Oh my gosh.
Man, what a disastrous fall apart collapse on behalf of the Seattle Mariners. They've lost 3 of the last 4.
I know. Here we go. I can't wait.
In case you missed it, Tolos, in case you didn't watch on Friday, the Dodgers did clinch the National League Championship Series. 4-0 swept the Brewers. 4-star tight end Jamel Howells has decommitted from South Carolina. 6'4", 240-pound tight end has been committed since October of 2024. So they lose a guy that they've had committed for over a year.
Not good.
That's not.
Nope.
Florida has fired Billy Napier even after a win against a pretty good Mississippi State team, something we all saw coming.
So the reports last week were dead on.
Yeah, they were going to fire him no matter what.
What if he would have won by like 74 points Saturday?
Did you ever watch The Breakfast Club?
No.
80s movie? You might know the final scene. It's a guy walking across the football field with his fist pumped in the sky. Judd Nelson, he won. I won't give the movie away, but he got the better of the person he was trying to get the better of. He throws his fist in the sky. To me, that's Billy Napier. He walks out with a win. At least he can hang his hat on that.
That's true.
Amid speculation about, yes, that's true. $21 million buyout. Yeah, I mean, it sucks to get fired, but $21 million takes the sting away. Yeah. $21 million to buy you a lot of jet skis. Yeah. And as Daniel Tosh said, you can't be sad on a jet ski. Amid speculation about Florida State coach Mike Norvell and his job security, they have issued a statement. AD Michael Alford did, and says that a comprehensive review of the football program will happen when the season ends. He said, quote, "We rightfully have high expectations in everything we do to represent Florida State in the manner that built our reputation as one of college football's best programs, cultivating an extraordinary blah, 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 blah." We didn't have the money to fire.
That's what I was going to say. If you translate that, it means we're still gathering funds.
Yeah, working on it. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels suffered a right hamstring injury early in the third quarter against the Cowboys yesterday and was ruled out. Yet another blow to the Commanders, who got blown out 44-22.
Let's go.
I mean, you beat them with one.
Let's go.
With one hand behind.
Let's go. It doesn't matter. We'll take it.
Dan Quinn said that Jaden Daniels will have an MRI on his hamstring, and they will play Kansas City next week. South Carolina football coach Shane Beamer pushed back yesterday about being rumored as a candidate for the Virginia Tech job, saying that he is in his dream job with the Gamecocks. He spoke with the team about a media report that suggested he could return to Virginia Tech, where his dad, Frank, was a Hall of Fame coach. It was cool walking into the press conference room on Saturday, Cole. Didn't expect this at all. Just kind of catches you off guard. You turn that corner and bam, Frank Beamer is right there.
He's at every one, man. I got to give it to him.
I didn't know that.
He is at every one. And that's impressive.
It was Frank's birthday on Saturday.
I'm telling you, I say he's at every one. Every game I've ever been to, he's been there.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Okay. Carolina Panthers are above 500 for the first time since October 2021. It's been four
years.
Calendar years since the Panthers have been over 500.
Don't look
How about that? Dallas Cowboys cornerback Trayvon Diggs suffered a concussion in an accident at his home, but details about it are unclear. Brian Schottenheimer said that they're still gathering information. Jerry Jones talked about it, but he said he is unsure of the full story as well.
Yeah, not good. I mean, that's the most Cowboys thing ever. We don't get concussions on the field. We get them at home, right?
And your last Daily Wire here, some movement in the AP Top 25. Indiana moves up to number 2. Texas A&M number 3. Alabama 4. Georgia 5. Miami falls 7 spots to number 9. And I lied, there is one more. Stanford got hit with the $50,000 fine by the ACC for fans rushing the field. It was their first offense. It might be their first big win in like a decade.
But you know what? They deserve it. They'll pay that one. They beat Florida State. It happened at like 2 a.m., so nobody saw it. So pay the fine and get over
finish.
It was a wild finish. Again, it's tough right now. But, Diesel, so much that happened. So much that happened in the college football world outside of Carolina and Clemson. We'll touch on them, but a little college football roundup. That's next. Only if there was something to talk about in the college football world, Diesel. Nothing happened this weekend, so we're going to move on and talk about the World Series for the next 3 hours of the show and preview what happened in NASCAR over the weekend. I'm kidding. I'm joking. A jam-packed show coming your way. Welcome into Wire to Wire, hour number 2. We have Overreaction Monday, 1 hour from now, taking your phone calls at 5 o'clock. So do not forget calling the show. Utolo, that's right. You're calling the show in 1 hour from now. Can't wait to hear from you and hear what your overreaction may be. But some quick hits on a college football roundup. This is not a Daily Wire segment, but Diesel, we have like 7 things to get to, and maybe even more than that, depending on what comes up. We'll also get to some text on the text line that we haven't gotten to yet, like this funny one right here from JT and Greer. You brought this one up during the break, Diesel. JT says, I think whoever wins the South Carolina-Clemson game is safe. The other coach could possibly be fired. Is that out of the realm of possibility?
If it's a 3-score game, like there's nothing that we've seen so far that would suggest that South Carolina is capable of scoring 21 points, let alone beating Clemson by 21 points. But if that were to be the case, heart of hearts, soul-searching time for you Clemson fans. If South Carolina punked you by 3 touchdowns at Williams-Brice Stadium to end the season and maybe cost you bowl eligibility, would you be willing to say those 3 syllables? Fire Dabo Swinney.
I think some fans would.
Is Dabo
fire? I think fire.
Fire
right?
Dab. It depends on if you want to chant it. You know.
Oh yeah, you chant it.
It's 4 syllables. Yeah.
I think some fans would. I think some fans would. That unfortunately, here's where we are in the college football season for Clemson and South Carolina. That's the only thing left for fans. I know players are still trying to play for their own draft stock, but that's all that's left. Texter from the 491 says, we all know Riley isn't there to run Garrett Riley's offense. He's there to run Clemson's offense. Can't blame him for Dabo's terrible offense. Texter, I just don't know that to be true.
What are you basing that off?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, here's the problem. My issue with that text is we have now seen 3 years of Garrett Riley's offense. You can't convince me that Dabo Swinney has implemented his offense for 3 years and Garrett Riley's just calling the plays. Like, you just can't convince me of that. So,
yeah, what even is Dabo's offense, right? He was a wide receivers coach, never an offensive coordinator.
I think that's just a
convenient scapegoat
it's a theme that's I don't think there's any legs to that. I would actually think opposite, to be honest with you. I would think opposite if I had to pick one. RJ on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says, Clemson only had, all caps, 1 rushing play that was double-digit yards, a 12-yard run by Randall. Watch Dabo keep saying we don't need to use the portal BS. I'm with you, RJ, 100% agree with you there. Let's see here. Texter says, no, I'm the bad luck. Can't vote against my FSU, and it's killing me, as well as fourth-quarter comebacks. I think I've lost 3 so far, sitting at 0, talking about the Upset Picks Challenge. Texter says, literally, Dabo said that Garrett was there to run the Clemson offense when he was introduced. That's not true. I'm telling you, it's not true. You're not going to convince me that Garrett Riley is there for 3 years running Dabo Swinney's offense. You're just not. Garrett Riley, that's 3 years.
Yeah. Why do you fire an OC just to bring in another guy
to run your off? Yeah.
Hey, guess what? You, sir, who were wildly successful at your previous location, you're not going to get to do any of that stuff. You're going to do what we tell you to do. Garrett Riley's not taking that job.
And in fact, if you go back, Texter, and listen to press conferences like I do every week, you've actually heard Dabo Swinney say over the years, I brought this play up. I brought this play in. We're going to implement this play. I think this will work. We've implemented it in the game plans. I'm telling you. I'm not saying like you're dead. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. I just have no inclination to believe that's true.
If that's the case, Dabo would be the head coach OC.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have an offensive coordinator.
RJ says Clemson and South Carolina football are so bad this year's game may be moved to 11:30 p.m. on Lifetime. It'd be tragic. Or 5 a.m., right? I don't know. Tolos, don't forget Overreaction Monday, 1 hour from now. Want to hear from you on the phone lines when they are open at 844-326-3663. Diesel, let's do a little college football roundup. Our thoughts on several things that happened over the weekend. I hate to do this, but Diesel, we have to give credit where credit's due. We laugh. We make fun of Dewey. But I don't know if Dewey's still watching, by the way. Dewey called into the show on Thursday or Friday, and Dewey called for Miami to lose to Louisville, and I laughed at Dewey and basically called him crazy.
See, I don't know that Dewey meant it.
I think he did.
I think
he knows his ball.
I think Dewey exists right now only to troll Madcraft, because every single time Dewey messages in or calls in, he's all over Madcraft about Miami, letting Florida State back into that game, letting it become close again.
By the way, is Madcraft okay? Like, has anybody heard from that guy?
I did message him on over the weekend just to make sure that he was okay.
Yeah.
And he messaged me back. He's doing fine. He's alive. Well, let me rephrase that. I messaged him Saturday. I didn't message him on yesterday after we found out the Chargers lost.
Yeah. It was bad. It was a bad weekend for old Madcraft. But I got to give Dewey credit. Maybe Dewey knows ball. Maybe Dewey knows. Diesel, how bad is that? Carson Beck, 4 interceptions. Louisville, like we talked about that game on Friday on this show, and we know Miller Moss is capable of winning big games. We saw him do it against LSU, but what did we say over and over last year? Miami just couldn't put together the consistency they needed, and once again, Miami's tripped up. I'm not saying their season's over. There's only one loss.
Did you make a big deal out of Carson Beck essentially throwing his receivers under the bus in his post-game press conference, saying,
I'm glad you brought that up.
They ran the same. They ran the wrong route.
It's a good question. 5 years ago, Diesel, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I have a huge issue with it. Today, 2025, and in the future, I don't have a problem with it anymore. You know why? These cats are making millions of dollars. I've changed my stance. I used to be on the side of, no, they don't need he needs to be a better leader. Don't call anybody out. Screw that. I'm to the point now with this college football. I'm so sick of what it's become. These guys are making millions. You don't do your job, you're not doing your job. You need to be called. Accountability might be a good thing. Should he have said that publicly? Maybe not, but I don't have a huge issue with it.
No, I don't have a problem with it at all either. If he ran the wrong route, and that would be between Carson, the receivers, and the offensive coordinator, what was the play? Did you do what you were supposed to do? If you didn't do it, and I say flat out, this is what you were supposed to do, and you did something else that caused this play not to work, that's not unfair. That's not an unfair criticism. Like, I know that most quarterbacks and they're polished and head coaches are polished, and they'll say, well, that's on me for not coaching it correctly. Hey, you can coach it right all day. If your players don't go out there and run it right, that's on them.
Now, he was bad too. Let's put that out there. Carson Beck had 4 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. So as long as he's okay with admitting, whether he's talking about CJ Daniels or the Marion kid, whoever he's talking about, as long as he's okay with saying, hey, I did not help this team win in any way whatsoever against Louisville. I threw 4 interceptions. Miller Moss threw 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. You deserve to lose that game, period.
Yeah. I saw a lot of Georgia fans saying, oh, there he is. There's the Carson Beck we know. There's the Carson Beck we jettisoned and got rid of. Look, I mean, if you're a mistake prone, if you're interception prone, in all likelihood, even though he started off with, 7 games where he was really, really good, eventually, for whatever reason, that's going to rear its ugly head. It's going to come back, and it stinks when they all happen in one game. You know, it's like you can't explain it. I was sitting next to our counterparts up at the Spartanburg station on Saturday, and we were just thinking, like, how does it happen? What is the catalyst? What is the unexplainable cause for you just having the worst game of your life? Yeah. You know, when you just make multiple mistakes, you throw 4 picks in a single game, you hadn't had 4 picks all season, or this just keeps happening over and over and over again. There's no explanation for it. It's the yips. It's didn't get a good enough night of sleep the night before. I don't know what it is, and coaches can't figure it out. If they could, they'd get paid millions of dollars to coach that out of the teams.
We got to get to Billy Napier next, but let's go to the phone lines where Rick from Greer wants to get in. We do have a few quick seconds to get to Rick. What's up, Rick?
I don't know what to think about the Panthers. Okay, they're 4-3. Their real game is coming up this week.
Correct.
They play Buffalo. If they beat Buffalo, I'll be on the Panther bandwagon, baby.
Oh, he's back. You'll be back, huh?
If they lose, I'm taking my PSL and selling it right there and then.
Rick, will you be listening?
$5.
Did he just say that?
Okay, Rick, you're gone.
Did Rick just say that?
Man, Rick's
never said.
Did he say bucks? For $5?
I don't know.
I really thought I heard an F word there.
I don't know. What did it? It sounded like
Rick.
Maybe Rick didn't mean to.
Watching on the stream, what did you hear?
Oh, man.
On the stream, what did you hear? Because you guys are getting the
For those on the radio, you won't hear it because I dumped
getting the full unadulterated version.
I don't know if he said bucks or
the
other word. That's a good question. Hopefully he didn't.
I don't know.
I don't think Rick would do that.
Rick's never cursed on the radio.
No,
not on purpose.
I don't think he would do it. I think you said bucks,
and we just freaked out.
It didn't sound like bucks though. So
I really thought I heard something else.
Rick, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
If you said $5, Rick, then we owe you an apology and $5.
Oh, that's funny. All right, next on the college football roundtable, Billy Napier. He's gone. We talked about it in the Daily Wires, Diesel. Regardless of what happened, it seemed that that guy was going to be gone. And Billy Napier being gone from Florida, James Franklin being gone from Penn State with just a matter of weeks. Seismic shifts, seismic impacts to the landscape of college football. What was your reaction to Billy?
I said, my thought was, hey, I'm glad that he no longer has to live under that kind of pressure.
Yeah, it's true.
He's probably relieved to have been relieved of his duties.
I think Billy Napier is the kind of guy. I watched his post-game press conference. I think that guy's at peace. And I tell you what, credit to him. Because I couldn't be. I'd be a little bit stressed out, right? But that guy, and I know $21 million makes you a little bit more at peace, but that guy kind of seemed, Diesel, if you watch that press conference, he kind of seemed to know that was it. He was okay with it. And I respect that. It's tough. Yeah, $21 million makes it a lot easier, but still, you are still getting fired.
How long does it take for Dabo Swinney to rehire Billy Napier and bring him back to Clemson? Because he's been on staff before. Think about it. That is one thing that Clemson has done an awful job at over the past 10 years. You sit and you watch Nick Saban stack former head coaches on his staff again and again and again, right? Guy gets fired from some middling Power 4 job.
Yeah.
He comes to Nick Saban, works on his staff for a couple of years. All of a sudden, bam, he's the hottest thing again. And he's getting jobs in the SEC. Dabo Swinney has not done that. He has not brought in former head coaches, except for Tom Allen. That might be the first one that I can think of. But Allen also had stops in between being a head coach and coming to Clemson.
Breaking news: Madcraft is out from under the rock on the stream. He says it sounded like an F word to him. So we'll go back and listen to it during the break.
Tail of the tape.
Next on the college football round table, FSU kicking the can down the road on Mike Norvell, saying, look, we're going to wait till the end of the season. They released an official statement. The rumors and reports, Diesel, over the weekend were true, that there were conversations being had. But I just don't know how this ends well for Mike Norvell, because that guy, Brett McMurphy, did you see the tweet that Brett McMurphy sent out earlier today about his age?
I didn't.
So here's what sums it up, Diesel. I'm going to read it on the air for you. Listen to this. This was tweeted 6 hours ago. Mike Norvell was 42 years old when Florida State won its last ACC game, okay? He was 42.
Okay.
Norvell turned 44 2 weeks ago. Again, Mike Norvell was 42 years old when Florida State won its last ACC game.
Wow. Game.
Norvell turned 44 2 weeks ago. That is pathetic.
Yeah.
This is not the SEC. This is the ACC. That tweet right there that I retweeted, you can find it on Twitter, Tolos at @DColeBryson. That tweet deserves that warrants firing the guy.
Yeah, 4 straight losses. You start, with one of the hottest starts in college football you could possibly have. You beat Alabama in week 1 at your place after having a god-awful season the year before. And everybody thinks, oh my God, you're back. This is a playoff caliber team for Florida State this year. And then you lose 4 in a row to teams you shouldn't be losing to.
42 years
ridiculous.
old when he won his last ACC game, and now he's 44. That is not good. This is the ACC we're talking about.
His losses came to Virginia. I mean, no shame in losing to number 3 Miami.
Yeah.
Pitt, who you out-talent, and Stanford.
Yeah, horrible loss.
Stanford, who shouldn't even be in your conference. You're losing to Stanford.
And they may win, 2 more? They have Wake, Clemson, Virginia Tech, NC State, and Florida.
If they win 2, who of those
probably
2
Wake Forest and NC.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, they win one more. Next on the college football round table, the AP poll, Diesel, came out on yesterday, and the AP top 25 looks a lot different than we expected it to look. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3, Alabama has climbed their way back to 4, Georgia 5, Oregon 6. They moved up 2 spots even after that loss a couple of weeks ago. Georgia Tech moved up 5 spots to number 7. Ole Miss 8, Miami 9, and top 10. Rounding out the top 10 is Vandy, moving up 7 spots after beating LSU. Vanderbilt now 6-1 on the season. Again, top 10 is Vandy 10, Miami 9, Ole Miss 8, Georgia Tech 7, Oregon 6, Georgia 5, Bama 4, A&M 3, Indiana 2, Ohio State 1. And Diesel, the bad news is 2 of those top 5, South Carolina has to play in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. Really tough for South Carolina to reach bowl eligibility.
Really tough. So we'll continue, Tolos, to hit on college football all show. We have a absolute loaded show coming up.
some ways, Clemson acquitted themselves better than we expected on Saturday, and in other ways, they absolutely did not. Flopped hard. To talk about all of those things, Grayson Mann of TigerNet joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Grayson, before we get too deep into these questions, what's the absolute latest on Bryant Wesco's neck injury? Do we have any updates since kind of what was coming out earlier today?
Yeah, none that I'm really able to provide at this time. But he did share an update on social media. So anytime you have a player with a neck concern, if he's able to move extremities like typing on his phone, for example, I think that's a positive update. We're going to get more from Dabo Swinney here in about an hour. But if you guys really want my full take, when you got a coach asking the fan base for prayers hours after the game and he's in the hospital for a neck injury, when the season's trending the way it's trending, I wouldn't play him.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's tough to hear. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. If you have a question, Clemson-related for Grayson, hit us up on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-326-3663. 3-4 now, Grayson, are the Clemson Tigers. You and I and everybody else heard Dabo Swinney post-game against SMU. I know you've had a chance to rewatch it. Your biggest takeaway and what went wrong for Clemson on Saturday?
Yeah, it's been a season that's continued to really outline the issues program-wide that have really plagued Clemson so far in 2025. But I'm watching that game, and I think a lot of the big talking points prior to that matchup is they knew Christopher Vizina was going out there to start. I don't think Klubnik, his chances of playing were that high at all. That might have just been purely for window dressing for SMU, just to see if, maybe Klubnik might give it a go today. So you have this idea that you're going to have a quarterback that's making his first start, and the two things you need to establish are the run game, and you need to be solid on defense, and both tasks were failed tremendously on Saturday. Adam Randall had his worst game the day, couldn't read the holes particularly well, and had a couple big blocks that resulted in a strip sack of Vizina where he's absolutely looking for. And in real time, I thought that was more on him. And this is where the rewatch and watching it on the broadcast where they replay it 60 times, you get to see that angle, and Randall completely whiffs on a pressure on the edge from SMU. So overall, I don't think you left that stadium going, and Cole, you and I talked about this heading to the press room. I don't think you leave that stadium going, Christopher Vizina lost you the game on Saturday. Would I like to see more from CV this season? Absolutely. Maybe against a pass defense that's a little bit more capable than SMU. But absolutely, I think that the season, the way it's trending right now, this is just not a good football team. And we continue to get evidence as to why on a weekly basis.
Grayson, putting yourself into Dabo Swinney's headspace, did Christopher Vizina do enough on Saturday? 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, a good day for him. Did he do enough to secure his role as starter for next year?
No, we don't have enough. I think that, yes, I think he was solid. But at the same time, one start to justify throwing him into the lion's den, that is Death Valley, at LSU on the opening kick for 2026, that's a tall task. That's a tremendous jump. Now, is he capable? If we'd maybe seen this is game 4 and he's slowly getting better, I'd start to be pointing towards yes. But after one game against a bad pass defense where Clemson really wasn't all that willing to push the ball down the field unless it was absolutely necessary, hence for 4th and 21 to Tristan Smith, some throws to TJ Moore that I feel like were more about the receiver than necessarily Vizina putting it in the right spot. He made the right throw, but I wasn't sitting there like, that's an elite throw from Christopher Vizina. I felt like those were elite catches from TJ Moore and Tristan Smith. So my answer is no right now. That's not because I don't think he played bad on Saturday. I think it's just one game isn't enough for me to justify completely leaving a quarterback out of the portal conversation for the offseason.
Grayson, you mentioned Dabo Swinney speaking in just a little while. No Tuesday presser this week with Clemson having a bye week. What do you believe, not only yourself, but other media members and fans are wanting to hear the most out of when Dabo speaks here in just a little while?
I think it's sort of deja vu, where they wanted to see how things would operate after the Syracuse game, where you're heading into an open date with a lot of uncertainty. And he said that it's a new season and Clemson can still win the season And of course, they went 2-0 on the road. But I think that you and I had talked on Monday last week about what those two games necessarily meant for Clemson. Was that the beneficiary of playing bad football teams that are a grade below you in terms of North Carolina's mess and Boston College dealing with a bunch of injuries? That team just lost to UConn on Saturday. I know UConn's gotten a lot better, but not getting really great for Bill O'Brien there in Chestnut Hill. So I think it confirmed a lot of our suspicions about Clemson this year with SMU, is that when they can't rise to the occasion against good football teams. And I would consider SMU a very good, not great, football team, and Clemson was outcoached and outplayed.
Grayson, we know that when a coach gets fired, recruits start abandoning ship. We've seen it several times now already with James Franklin and him leaving at Penn State. Dabo Swinney obviously isn't going anywhere, but the disappointments are starting to stack up for a lot of fans, and that certainly affects recruiting in upcoming classes. Is there an erosion of confidence from anybody that you've heard from or been able to infer who are already committed, or does it seem like those commits, they're holding strong?
I would say Clemson's in a fantastic spot recruiting wise. And at least when we talk about their people that are locked in, they're pledged, they're close to signing the dotted line here in about 2 months. And every conversation that I've had, and I've really pushed the needle when asking certain questions of how does this group necessarily feel about where things are headed? Do they think this is fixable? And the confidence that you've gotten from this group is that they believe not only are things going to be okay, they're going to be the ones to come and do it and fix this thing. I talked to a 4-star safety last night who's committed to Clemson, and he said that this class talks all the time about how this is going to be the group to turn it around, and there's no reason and nobody's concerned about anyone else jumping ship. Dre Quinn, obviously the 4-star defensive end that decommitted, an isolated incident, but overall this class very confident that they're going to all stick together here in the next coming months, and that they're confident they potentially could come in immediately and make things happen.
Grayson, man, TigerNet.com. Grayson, a tough one for you here. Big picture kind of question. I am in the camp. I said this back about an hour ago. I'm in the camp that I believe Dabo Swinney has some very, very, very tough decisions to make in the offseason. But I also am in the camp that like I said on the air, I believe that Dabo should be the one that gets the opportunity to get this thing turned around. However, Grayson, I want to ask you, and I ask myself this same question multiple times and have this weekend, in the new era of college football, not pre-portal, not pre-NIL, but in the new era of college football, what has Dabo Swinney shown Clemson fans that we all of a sudden should believe that Dabo can turn this around in the new era of college football?
Right, and there is that argument for sure, is that post Trevor Lawrence, which is about when this NIL thing started, is Clemson's been very average as a program. 1 playoff appearance and 2 conference championships in a league that's been deemed the worst of the Power 4 in between the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC. Clemson's only a 2-time champion, not going to go to Charlotte this year. Multiple 3-loss seasons, multiple 4-loss seasons in that stretch. So, yeah, there is a reason to be doubtful whether Dabo Swinney is going to be the guy to get it done. I think he deserves to be the one to fix this, and this is certainly their worst year. Felt 2023, that wasn't a good football team on talent-wise, and maybe we're discovering that about this year. But this truly feels like the reset where it all comes crashing down. You just had made the playoffs. There was so much hype, tremendous amount of buzz, and it's come crashing down, and it came down pretty quickly. So now with Clemson, it's all about moving forward, and I do think Swinney has deserved and earns the right to be the one to come and fix it. But I think this is his most important offseason yet. There's a lot of critical decisions he has to make, whether that's staff or through the portal. And so looking at it from just that lens specifically, if things aren't fixed this offseason, and I don't mean like all of a sudden they're 13-0, that's not realistic. Sure. I think 9-10 wins next year has got to be sort of that progress bar that you're looking for. Fringe playoff team, if so, maybe you can sneak in, but they got to start making steps and got to evaluate it as this program is, if there's a mountaintop, they're back at the bottom and they need to find a way to climb, and it's going to be a slow climb, but it's going to come down to what moves they make this offseason to see if that starts to happen, or they start digging a hole 6 feet under.
And I think I'm with you, and I think a lot of people are with you and on the same page that Dabo does deserve the opportunity, but we're not gonna, like, my biggest problem is we're allowing Clemson fans to say, well, he did go get Will Helt. Like, he went and got one guy. Like, Will Helt, is he, like, that's what I'm saying. Do we believe that Dabo Swinney is going to go out between now and freaking April and get 10, 15 guys in the portal? I just don't know if Clemson fans really believe that's going to happen or not.
I think if there's one positive, it's that if you're Dabo Swinney, you're looking at sort of the roster and you start to look at yourself and go, who's giving me the most effort? Who's playing the best as of late? And I got to feel like your top 5 are Will Helt and Tristan Smith in some particular order. And then you start to make that correlation of, okay, there's something there. There's evidence that if I could just bring in maybe a few extra pieces that can make solid contributions, then you can start trending in the right direction. I think at this point in college football, if you want to be a consistent contender, you got to bring in about a quarter of your roster because you're going to lose about a quarter every offseason. And Clemson's going to lose a lot of players that they contribute. They're counting on to contribute in big ways. Now, you may feel differently about them than you did in August, but you're still losing bodies. And so you got to go fill that. Will this class upcoming still be ready? Not entirely sure. I know they have guys that can come in and immediately play. Naeem Burrows is one of those at receiver that I think can come in and be an instant impact player. But that's one of 20. And we could certainly dive into the weeds of that recruiting class. But overall, you got to go into the portal and find guys you are confident in, don't need to be in the crock pot. There's not a situation where you go get it, Tristan Smith and a Jeremiah Alexander. They haven't really played much this year. You got to go find a different type of player. You got to go find 10 Will Helts who can come in and start immediately. And that's the nature of the business now. That's what makes Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
We could go on and on and on, but that's what makes some of those great teams championship contenders.
Grayson, do you think it's possible, and maybe the most realistic way to ask this question, is there enough money for Dabo to have his cake and eat it too? Is it possible to maintain 2 systems when it comes to NIL, giving the guys who remain loyal, who perform, giving those guys NIL as they get deeper and deeper into their careers, and at the same time have a pool of money large enough to go buy a couple of players, for lack of a better word, buy a couple of guys who can immediately impact?
I think next year you're going to be in a better situation financially because you were so tied to the players that were still here, the Klubniks, the Parkers, the Antonio Williams, the Peter Woods. A lot of cash was in retention. Now I think a lot of cash is going to be in more of a shopping spree because realistically, I think Clemson can compete on a national level in the transfer portal. And now there's going to be this sense of you can come in and be the guy to do it and come rebuild with this group. They've gone out and competed for a Will Helt, who was a high commodity in the transfer portal, because they really felt like on this roster, they didn't need too many pieces because they had the retention was so there. It was supposed to be Dabo's year of him doing it his way while adding a few pieces in the portal. That hasn't become the case. So this upcoming offseason, when you lose so many players, you got to question at quarterback. I do think you're going to have a lot more money to play around with to be a little bit more creative in the transfer portal. So that's what I think is exciting, is it's put up or shut up time. And I think we'll get to see what Swinney does here in a few months and how true he will stick to that philosophy.
Grayson, there's a narrative going around, and we had a texter getting in with us earlier in the show about this, and I don't know where you stand. I'd love to know, but the theory that Garrett Riley is not running his offense, I simply don't believe that's true. I have asked and probed and really digged to find out if that's true, and I have not found anything that leads me to believe that. Where do you stand on that narrative that I've heard now for several years?
Yeah, it's been the popular narrative, and I think you never help yourself when Swinney's first words when Riley sits on that desk in the Smart Family Media Center and goes, he's not coming here to run his offense, he's running here to come the Clemson offense.
Yeah.
So then people naturally begin to wonder.
Right, and the texter brought that up too. Yeah.
Yes, so that quote doesn't help you, but I have everything that I know and everything that I've heard. Garrett's running the show. He's calling the shots. Dabo obviously has a tremendous amount of input. He's the head coach. All head coaches do. That's just the belly of the beast, the nature of how things are run. But overall, I haven't heard anything that would indicate that Riley's being paid millions of dollars to just kind of sit there on the sideline. That's not happening.
Correct.
At Gray_man21 on Twitter. Go find him, give him a follow. We saw Nick Saban stack kind of wayward head coaches who had been fired on his staff for years. This is just kind of a thought experiment. What recently fired or hot seat coach would fit right into this staff if Dabo wanted to start doing the same thing, bringing in more and more guys? And I know Tom Allen was a head coach a couple of years ago, but who do you think would say, all right, that guy would fit right in?
It's funny because he left the same way, but Billy Napier is a name that's been thrown around as being an offensive piece, as someone to come in. I see it at the top of the screen here about Napier, so I feel like that's probably low-hanging fruit. But there are some coaches that you look around the country, I don't know if they'll necessarily be hot commodities on the coaching search. And you did see Dabo Swinney bringing someone like Mike Houston, who was let go and is in sort of an analyst role that's, as sort of put it, it's an unpaid volunteer, which is the best part because someone else is paying his contract. So maybe there's an aspect of you can get the phone and say, hey, maybe you give this 2 years and you help Clemson back to restore it to its former glory, and there will be a head coaching job around for you somewhere because I got the contacts and the connections to be able to do it. There's possibilities, and that's what makes this offseason fun, is there's going to be a lot of movement, not just players in the portal, but it's going to be like the coaching portal in a sense. And maybe Napier isn't an immediate head coaching candidate, but man, would he be a great assistant somewhere? I wonder where.
Grayson, a few texts to get to in just a second. Before we move off of Garrett Riley, though, yes or no, in your opinion, not asking you to reveal any news or sources that you have or anything, but in your opinion, is Garrett Riley back next year?
I would be shocked if Garrett Riley's back next year.
Me too. Yeah, oof. I think everybody's pretty much on the same page.
Grayson, you might get more and more of these opportunities, but Duke Clemson kickoff now set for noon on November 1st. For you personally, I don't know how much travel you have to do, but man, it's a lot going down to Clemson multiple times a week. What is the most elite time slot for you to be able to do your job? You got the noon slot, the 3:30 slot, or the night game?
Man, I mean, I like each one because I get to cover a game, but it's tough because I think a night game, you get to sort of sit around and watch college football all day, and then you're the main show. That's what made the LSU game so much fun, is you get to watch Ohio State, Texas at noon. You got to watch Alabama, Florida State at 3:30, and then boom, all of a sudden you're covering Clemson, LSU. And that was a blast in its own right. Obviously, fans of the Tigers, whichever way you want to go, loved or hated the result. But me sitting there, that's a fun football day. So personally for me, I like a noon kick because you can get up early in the morning, you can get it done, and then you can go watch football. And I have always enjoyed a Saturday night where I can go see my friends and just talk some football, especially with the Clemson game where everyone's kind of settled down a tad. So team no sleep, love a noon game. 3:30, nice little balance. 8 p.m., heck, who wouldn't want a primetime game? So I'm fine with all of them. We can play it 3 a.m. and I'd be happy.
Grayson, you might have heard this by now. You're a busy guy. You're covering your own beat, but have you heard the audio yet of Jack Veltri getting Shane Beamer a little testy early in his press conference? No? Okay.
It hasn't been a great year in Columbia either, so I'm sure.
I tell you what, let's play it. Let's let Grayson Man hear this live on the air. This was the second question in Shane Beamer's post-game press conference after the loss to Oklahoma.
It's 7 games now. The offense has just continued to struggle. At some point, do you feel like a change is needed, whether it's...
I made a change last week, Jack.
And then I'm talking about the play calling.
Every week, we're continuing to look at how to be better, and every week I do that. And every week, I will continue to do that and continue to evaluate that.
What gives you hope that the play
Next question.
Okay.
Okay.
So when was the last time you, or the time that sticks out in your mind of when you got Dabo Swinney that heated?
When I did personally?
Yeah. Has it even happened?
It has. So there was a time, so they had just finished playing Georgia last year. And of course, this is like maybe 2 months into this full-time gig with TigerNet. So I was thinking like, oh man, I just pissed Dabo Swinney off like 2 months into this.
You're done. You're fired. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had said in July, trying to give App State a lot of credit. And so he said, man, it doesn't matter what happens again in the Georgia game because we got to turn it around and play a really good App State team. We got to have some urgency. And I had just watched Florida State within basically, 7-6 days go to 0-2. And so I just asked him, trying to bridge the two together, his statement and how quickly you can go 0-2 into a question. And he just heard Florida State and got really upset with me. He's like, I'm not talking about Florida State here. Like, what are we doing? And I was just sitting there in the front row, red as a cherry, embarrassed. I was like, oh, man. But you know what? It happens. And so sometimes there's a natural conflict arises between coach and media. So Jack does great work. I don't know him personally, but he does good stuff for South Carolina. And hey, sometimes if you get first named by the head coach, it's not all bad.
No big deal. You just keep on moving. Grayson, you're the best, man. Can't wait to see and hear what Dabo says coming up shortly. People can follow you on Twitter where to see those comments?
Yeah, follow me at Gray_man21. We'll have a Bryant Wesco update, I believe. Sweeney will go in depth on that. And then just overall, he gives his breakdown on what the heck happened on Saturday. And I think that's always nice to get that film breakdown from Sweeney. I have a few questions myself. Can't wait to go. Guys, you two are the best. Have
Appreciate
a
you,
great
man.
date.
You too. Grayson Man, TigerNet.com reacts to what happened. And again, that Dabo audio or Dabo teleconference very, very soon. We'll react to what we hear. But Diesel, we witnessed the greatest individual performance in sports history on Friday night. I'm being that bold with it. In sports history, the greatest performance. And I mean, there's nothing out there that compares, nothing out there that competes with it. What am I talking about? Who was it? We'll tell you. We'll get into it next. Well, Diesel, I believe we saw on Friday night the greatest individual performance in the history of sports. What am I talking about? What happened Friday night? It was not college football related. It was not NFL related, nothing to do with football. You mentioned in the Daily Wires that the Dodgers quickly took care of business, right? I don't know if our Tolos realize what Shohei Ohtani did on Friday night. But, Diesel, what Shohei did and what Shohei Ohtani has done in the game of baseball, I have bad news for those out there that maybe don't like Shohei. I don't know if these records that Shohei Ohtani are breaking will ever be replicated. This guy, I mean, you've heard what happened. 3 home run, 10 strikeout night. You're just talking about a guy that's breaking every record in the history of baseball, and he's not slowing down.
Yeah, I saw some funny, memes and stitches and reels over the weekend, and it was somebody who went back in time and was talking to Babe Ruth and said, "Hey, Babe, I got to tell you, man, I gotta warn you about a player that's coming that's going to be better than you." And he's like, well, what did he do? What did he do on the field? Oh, he had 3 home runs. Oh, I could do that in a series. He pitches and he hits. Oh, I do that. He had 10 strikeouts. Oh, yeah. I could do that in a series. He goes, no, he did all that in a single game.
One game.
And his cigar fell out of his mouth.
One game.
It's absurd.
The history started earlier, long before Friday, right? So Ohtani led off the bottom of the first inning with a home run, becoming the first pitcher to hit a leadoff homer in any MLB game, Diesel, regular season or postseason. So it started right back in the first inning. He's the only postseason player in history to lead off a game he started on the mound, which he has now done twice, by the way. He didn't stop there. Ohtani went on to hit another home run in the 4th inning, in a 3rd and the 7th. He became the first pitcher with multiple home runs in a postseason game. On the mound, Ohtani went 6+ scoreless innings, allowing 2 hits, striking out 10 batters. He's the first player in MLB history to strike out even 5 batters in a game where he hit 3 home runs, and he struck out 10. And that's in any game, regular season or postseason. Diesel, this was the second time in his career Ohtani had at least 10 strikeouts as a pitcher and multiple home runs, including playoffs. He's the only person ever to do that twice.
Yeah.
Nobody else. He also became the first player ever to strike out a batter and hit a home run in the first inning with a postseason game. I mean, the list could go on and on. Ohtani's 3 home runs in the postseason game he pitched, all in this one game, by the way, are the most of any player in a career games pitched ever. The only players to even have 2 are Bob Gibson and Dave McNally. And again, this is only like a half of the page of what he did. It was his 13th 3-run home run game in postseason history. This guy's the best baseball player we've ever seen.
And there are many baseball historians that will not give him the credit for it. Those who are so entrenched that Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, name who you want to name, are the GOATs. In some way, I feel kind of bad for Aaron Judge, right? Because Aaron Judge is so good, but he's so good in an era when Shohei is just better than he is. I mean, think about all those great players that played in the same era as Jordan, and all the great players that have played in the same era as LeBron, and nobody cares.
Yep.
Nobody cares. It's what did Jordan do? What did LeBron do? What did Wilt do?
Ohtani didn't just hit 3 home runs Friday, Diesel. According to StatCast, he crushed them. Exit velocities of 116, 116.9, and 113.6. He became the first player ever with multiple home runs of at least 116 miles per hour in any regular season or postseason game. Again, in a game where he pitched. The 2 116-mile-per-hour home runs came while Ohtani was in the game as a pitcher, marking the 2 hardest hit home runs as a pitcher under StatCast history. And the longest of the home runs, Diesel, went a StatCast projected 469 feet leaving Dodger Stadium per the team. The ballpark has not historically been known for frequent long home runs, but that was before Ohtani, right? Who now has 8 home runs of at least 450 feet at Dodger Stadium. No other player even has multiple 3 under StatCast.
Yeah, it's time for everybody
Oh my gosh.
who has dismissed Shohei or just kind of like put him on the back burners, right? Because he's not on, he might not be playing for your team.
Yeah.
It's going to turn into must watch every single night.
It's
and
great.
This is a great thing for
It's
baseball.
great.
God, the sport
And
needs mega stars like that. If Shohei could figure out a way to make himself more marketable in the sense of like you see him in commercials and in movies and all this stuff, he would be one of the biggest stars on the planet.
Yeah, I think he is.
In any industry.
I think he is. I think he already is. I think he's the greatest athlete on planet Earth right now. I mean, this guy, you go watch this guy. It just doesn't even look like a human being. It's just so impressive. And to your point, it's so good for the game. And it's good that he's in the World Series. Let's be honest. I mean, there's players like LeBron who have left their prime that are still playing. You don't see them in the NBA finals or whatever. This is going to be a fun World Series, and a lot of it has to do with Shohei breaking more records, Diesel.
When we come back, Tolos, here is your chance to call the show. 844-326-3663 and overreact. Let them rip. What did you see over the weekend that's just been eating at you for the past 24, 36, 48 hours? Call in. You'll be on the phones next on the Fan Upstate. Well, we've been debating now for almost 40 minutes on the stream. What did Rick actually say? I think you and I might have gone back and listened to that, Cole, more times than the Zapruder film. It's like that episode of Seinfeld when they tried to figure out who spit on George and Kramer. The amount of times that we listen to this. Now, it very clearly sounds like the F word.
Yeah, it does.
Rick said. But Rick said that if the Carolina Panthers lose this game, he would sell his PSL for $5.
And it sounded like something else.
But it sounded like something else. And look, when the FCC is involved, it doesn't matter what you said. It matters what it sounds like you said.
And there was a big debate on the stream about this.
A lot of people were like, it sounded like he said the F -- word.
Kane said, let me see if I can find it. Kane said, I think we call it Rick Gate, or maybe that was Dan B. But so evidently we're split on the stream, and I know it's Overreaction Monday in this segment, but it seems like April said, now y'all are tripping. Rick said $5. If you go back and try to focus on his voice, because Cole was talking at the same time, you can hear him say the word 5, then bucks. There's a big debate on that. So here's what I could do. We can't clip the thing and air it because it sounds like, but what I can do, and I'll have to get precise, I can clip out the buh and the fuh. If I can clip that, isolate that, I can play that on the air. We just can't play the word. But I'll try.
Man, this is like when Judas Priest was on trial for subliminal messages.
We're going to get to the bottom of it. Because I want to clip it because I want to see what the audience says in terms of the ba or the fa. And I've got it right here, but it might be the next segment before I can get to it. But nonetheless, thanks, Rick, for creating the great debate on today's show.
It is time, Tolos, to get out your phones and call us. Who's got the stones at 844-326-3663 to air your grievances, what you saw over the weekend, what's got you torn up about your game, your team, whatever it may be. It is Overreaction Monday, your opportunity to let them fly, just as long as you don't put any 4-letter words in there. But call in and be a part of Overreaction Monday. Cole, would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
I'll tell you what. I've got one, then we'll get to the phone lines. I've got one that I think, Diesel, you will find interesting because this was breaking news. I've got one I want to get your reaction to. This broke earlier today that Bryce Young has a high ankle sprain, and he will not be playing Sunday against the Bills when the Bills come to town, right? Which is bad news. Your starting quarterback, you would like for him to be out there. However, my overreaction, my first one in this segment, Diesel, is that Bryce Young being out Sunday is no big deal. It's no big deal. Don't make this a bigger deal than it is, and I'll tell you why. From what I've watched of the Panthers this year, this offense is not built around Bryce Young. It's just not. Right. Bryce Young's had a decent season, but there's nothing that this offense does, Diesel, that another quarterback can't do. It's not like it's an offense tailor-made to Bryce Young. I believe if Andy Dalton, it is Andy Dalton, right?
Yep.
If Andy Dalton gets all week with the ones, Rico Dowdle's still playing well, I don't really think this offense is going to miss a beat Sunday. In fact, like if I'm a Panther fan, yeah, you might want Bryce to be out there, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, it's not. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
You look at his averages so far through 6 games played, and one of those games limited. I get it because he went out in the third quarter of yesterday's game. He has averaged sub 200 yards per game passing. He has averaged 1.67 touchdowns per game. And he has averaged just under 1 interception per game. Now, that is getting better. His sack numbers are getting better. But really, his production, he's in year 3. His touchdown production, both on the ground and through the air, is not there. His yards per catch, not there. Yards per game, not there. Bryce Young, he'll be a fine backup to whoever they draft this year. I really do think it's time to go out there and I don't know if the answer is get a guy that's relatively young in free agency. I don't know who you could get. Or if the answer is go find a quarterback that plays a similar style to Bryce Young, but actually has the tangible. Somebody that's 6'2", 210 pounds, like a Lenora Sellers, maybe. I don't know. Somebody who can play a similar style of offense because you've already built around that basic style.
April Mosley on the stream on YouTube says 100% Dalton is more than capable. So April agrees with us. And I don't know that that's like a scorching hot take, but I don't know. I am kind of in your camp, Diesel. I tweeted out yesterday. I watched that Panthers game at 1:00, and Bryce does good things, but there's nothing that Bryce does that makes me think like, whew, that guy's.
It's not explosive.
No,
he's not a lock to go get you, 12 yards when you need 10 on 3rd and 10.
I know
He's
it's
just
not a
that guy.
popular take for the Bryce Young apologist, but I don't know, man. He's just not growing on me. And maybe he's not because he's so short and he's done growing, but he's not growing on me. I didn't mean to make that into a joke. I promise.
That's 2 show days in a row that Cole has made short jokes.
I know, and I'm going to be talking, right?
Right?
And Kim
Kim Jong-un.
And now Bryce Young?
Yeah.
Oh, where's this show got
Let's
to?
go to the phone lines and talk to Madcraft, who is up first. Madcraft, how many 5-gallon buckets of tears have you cried in the last 2 days, or are you all out?
I'm all out. I ain't got none, guys. We are on the poo-poo train with the rest of y'all now. Choo-choo, I reckon. But, you know, here's the deal. There's no excuses on that one. We got beat.
Miami, right?
Miami
came into our house. Louisville came into our house and just flat out beat us. I mean, there's no thing about it. But I'm going to give a quick shout-out to Alex Dono of Locked on Canes.
Mm-hmm.
This was all from him. I don't take credit for any of this, but it's something that he was saying on his show was that if he goes back and looks week by week, all these opposing coaches, they go into their midweek press conferences, and every time they step up to the podium, they all say the same thing about our defense. They say they beat you. They're talented, fast, athletic. That's how they beat you. But they're very simple. They don't do much. Very basic. Okay, now flash forward to what Carson Beck said when they were going into the Louisville game, said, no, we're not going to change anything. We're just going to do us. We're going to keep doing our thing. Okay, so then afterwards, we have a defensive back who says post-game, when he steps up to the podium, he says, we didn't see any of what Louisville did on film.
Wow.
Not a single time this week or past week. We didn't see a single thing that they did on offense that made sense to us. We had never seen it. So we have a team that's admitting, Miami, admitting that we're basic and we're not going to do much. We're not changing, right? Well, that's all fine and dandy if you want to try to beat people athletically. But when you go up against a coach like Braun, that's not going to cut it anymore. And it showed. It showed. I mean, we got out-schemed to a maximum.
Hey, Madcraft, I agree with everything you're saying. I want to interject real quick, though. I hear you. Like, I don't disagree with you. But while all that may be true, isn't the theme from this one, you turn the ball over 4 times. You don't turn the ball over 4 times, you probably win the game.
Well, I completely agree with you. One of them got called back. He actually threw 5 interceptions.
That's true. Yeah.
Wow.
That's true.
But
and what was the final?
Here's the crazy.
It was a 1 touchdown?
Huh?
What was the final score off the top of your head?
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't exactly remember. I've tuned it out. But that's another thing, Cole. You know, Mario Cristobal, he said, you know, we can take one positive from this. You know, when it come down to the end of the game, we had a chance to go win it. No, I'm not doing that. It's the same way that people said we let Florida State come back, and I told y'all, no, we never were going to give that game up to Florida State. We had it the whole way. Same thing with Louisville. Louisville was never going to give us that game up. We got beat right from the jump. So I disagree with Mario there. I don't even think that's a positive. The only positive I'll take away from it is those 4 interceptions. You know how many points Louisville got off of those?
How many?
0.
Wow.
So the defense didn't break. But here's another stat real quick. Just one more for you. You know, 2 weeks ago when we played our other game, you know, Carson Beck threw 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
Okay.
Wilder, what's your name?
So that's polar opposite of what happened this week.
And
0 touchdowns.
well, Matt, let me ask you this
Wait a
before you run off. What hurts worse? Getting hit in the head by a Cardinal or getting trampled over by a bunch of Colts?
Oh, yeah, that one hurt too. No, it was the Cardinals.
Well, I mean, the Chargers are supposed to be
Chargers were
good
gonna
this year,
struggle.
Matt Kraft.
I know, man, but I'm not one for excuses.
Wire.
But look, I'm not going to talk about the turf thing, but I am just going to say we were actually on. Hold on, we were on our 6th string tackles yesterday.
Wow.
Just think about that.
Oh,
Think about
God.
that. Hey, and real quick,
Nobody
Florda,
has
I'm
a
gonna go real quick,
6th-string tackle, do they?
but we had a 6th and 7th on the field yesterday.
There's no way.
Oh, that's
And
the
they got and they went down. By the way,
that's the fat guy they had to pull out of
Yeah.
the receptionist office. Thanks, Madcraft. Let's go to the
Oh, my
phone
gosh.
phone lines again, and we got them stacked up here. Let's go to Dan B up first. Dan B, welcome to the show.
Hey, so my overreaction has to do with the great legend Josh Pate picking Nebraska to go 10-2 and make the playoffs.
Oh,
I called it at the beginning of the season. There's no way that was ever going to happen. So as much as I love that guy and he's got good content, I don't know where he got his numbers from.
What's their record, by the way? Are they 5?
They're probably 4-2, 4-3.
Wait, he predicted them to go what?
10-2.
so
That's not out of the realm of possibility, though.
It wasn't. I mean, I could give it at the beginning of the season. It'd be the 2 losses. Could be, I forget if they play. I think they play Ohio State.
That was a bad loss to Minnesota.
So
though.
Dan, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. Despite the fact that our Tolos who are crushing it in the upset picks challenge seem like they know the future, it's all just a guess. It's all just a hunch. I have a feeling that Nebraska is going to be really good this year and play well all season long, but it's just a guess. No one knows.
Except for me, I told y'all to pick Clemson SMU. I told y'all to do it, but you didn't do it. I don't know why. Dan, did you do it, by the way?
Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Pony up, baby, right?
All right. Thanks for the call, Dan.
But just the whole Matt Rule thing.
Yeah.
That may or may not have been a distraction, but if Matt Rule leaves, then all that does is set Nebraska back another 5 years. So.
Oh, by the way, Dan, did Madcraft said that we cut him off too early? Did Rick say F or what? B? Yeah, F or B.
Was definitely supposed to be the B. I think his syllable got cut off from maybe his phone or something. So all you heard, and I'll say it slowly, all you heard was 5 bucks. And if you say that kind of quickly, it sounds like you're saying the wrong thing.
So he's coming in with an alternate theory that it's the phone company's fault.
Yeah, it's the phone company. Yeah. And Denver, 33 points in the fourth quarter. Heck yeah, last night. Or yesterday afternoon. That was one of the greatest comebacks, I think, ever.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was 33 points in one quarter. That coach, Brian Daboll, should be fired at Dewey, right?
There you go.
Thanks, man.
Speaking of Dewey jumping up 55.
Oh, yeah.
We hadn't got to that. We hadn't got that far yet. But Dan, I appreciate you dropping that knowledge on us. Let's go to the phone lines again. Do you have audio pulled up here, Cole? Are you willing to play this audio? So
here's the deal. You're going to hear something in your ear in a second. I've almost got it, but just ignore what you hear. I'm going to have it in just a second. But let's go while I get it finalized. The reason I'm pushing this off is I've got to be extremely precise in this cut.
Yes, you're taking your
job, see what I'm saying?
And your employment in your own hands here.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm being careful. I'm trying, though. I'm trying to get it because it's the great debate. Madcraft said, Rick said it. Dan B says no. All right.
Sounds like he said it. Cole's playing this in my head.
So you can hear it, but the Tolos can't. Here's what I'm going to do. I've got it done. So real quick, before we go to the next caller, I've got just the very first part, right? It's either an F or a B. And I can play this because this is all it is. It's just like one letter.
That's an F.
Is that an F?
God, played it.
Is that an F or a B?
Man, this is hard
Because if
it's that suggestive thing. If you tell somebody it's the B word, then it sounds like a B. If you tell somebody it's the F word, then it sounds like an F. It's like whether the debate was the dress blue and black or gold and whatever.
And for any Tolos that just tuned in and have no idea what's going on, Rick called in earlier and got dumped because he said he meant to say what, $5,
God,
right?
You almost said it
I know.
too. Woo! God, you are
$5
toeing the line, my friend.
But this is again the very. I can't tell. To me, that sounds like an F. I'm gonna turn it up a little louder. Hold on. I don't know,
man.
I don't know. Let's go, Tom in Somerville. Next.
If we asked our boss, hey, what do you think? Can we play this on the air to get our listeners' opinion? He would say, well, guys, it's a little titillating. I don't think you should do that. That's
why I was really precise in the cut. Again, one more time. Is that a B or an F? Tolos on the text line too.
Tom, what do you think? Was that a B or an F?
Well, y'all probably don't want my opinion because I want to say the F word. So
what is it, Tom? Could you hear that though?
You saw on Saturday. I understand why.
Tom, could you hear this audio?
It does sound like a B.
It does?
Yeah.
Hold on, one more time.
Well, yeah, it's pretty close,
right?
Pretty close.
If you're told that it's an F, it sounds like an F. But if you're told that it's a B, it sounds like a B.
Or Shane Barrett when we need him.
The call on the field stands. There's not enough evidence.
There you go. There you go. Tom, what's up?
Hey, well, couple things. I caught the end of Mad Cat's phone call. Last week, he was all sunshine and rainbows. Since he's a Miami fan, I doubt he's all sunshine and rainbows anymore. So I would like to welcome him to the depressing club where your football team disappoints you every single week and you got nothing to play for. I just want to give a round of applause to Mad Cat for joining the depressing fan club because their season is also over. Now,
is it though? One loss?
They're going to lose again. Mario Cristobal is such an overrated coach. They're going to lose again. Now, here we go. So tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, the students at the University of South Carolina are holding a protest. This is real, guys. They're having a protest tomorrow on campus. They're protesting Mike Shula as OC.
Well, it's 3:00. The flyer says 3:00. So I don't want you to give those Gamecock fans the wrong impression.
Well, maybe since we can't enjoy the actual football games, we should just show up and tailgate the protest, and then it'll be fun. And since y'all go on the air at 3:00, we should get Dewey to go down to the protest and give y'all a live phone call describing what he sees. Because I'll be honest, I don't even know if I care enough anymore to go to a protest in regards to South Carolina football. That showing on Saturday, I can take a loss. I've taken a lot of losses as a Gamecock fan, but that was downright embarrassing. It was disrespectful to all of South Carolina fans, and we all should just stop showing up. I know we like to leave early, but if we just stay at home, then we don't have to get so mad that we even went to the game to begin with. That on Saturday was the biggest slap in the face from everybody involved, the whole coaching staff, the players. That was downright embarrassing. I don't know if, we're going to win another game this year. Coastal's probably going to beat us, plant the flag on our field like they did at State, and they're probably going to flick our fans off too. And to be honest with you, we probably deserve it because this sucks. This whole football season sucks. The best team in the state of South Carolina is Presbyterian, and Carolina and Clemson, they're going to get that game thrown off the ESPN network, and it's going to be put on Dollar General plus minus ABC.com because ain't nobody going to watch it. It's going to be two horrible football teams playing, and we got to sit through another offseason of just being miserable and hoping that the basketball team or the baseball team will do something to get us excited till August again.
Well, obviously, you know Chloe Kitts is out for the season, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's not a lot to look forward to in the basketball
You
season.
could hear
either.
the pain in that. Yes, you really could.
Tom, how many fried Oreos did it take to wash away your disappointment from the game when you went across the road to the state fair?
I didn't want to be there. I got in the truck and I went home. I said, I don't even want to be in this city no more. I said, I ain't going to the fair. I went home and I got home and I made some dinner and then I went to bed. I didn't watch TV the rest of the day. I didn't watch TV yesterday. I was so daggone mad that I just said, I'm not watching any more TV.
Well, Tom, that was a heck of a phone call. Hope you feel better, man.
Top notch, Tom.
Appreciate
We
you.
might beat Alabama. We'll see.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Can't wait to hear his
Let's
call
go
later
to
on.
T-Experience. He's riding high today. I know for a fact the T-Experience probably dancing naked in the streets.
Oh, that's true.
How
Yeah.
you feeling today, pal?
I come on here week after week after week stating my frustration. But this time, you won't hear anything but silence. Finally, the Gators have come back to their senses. Goodbye. Ding dong. The wicked witch is dead. Yes. But I never wanted to see anybody in the food line. Didn't want to see the man fired because, it's just the human nature side.
Yeah.
But you got to go. You got to go.
So
If you ain't
technically, you
cutting
won
my-
twice this
You gotta
weekend.
go.
T-Experience, you won twice this weekend because the Gators did win, and the guy you didn't like got fired.
True.
You're daggum right.
Who do you go get real quick to experience?
Well, don't think about telling Mike Norvell to go down to I-10 and try to get that application because we don't want his sorry buddy the one Florida State kicks him out. So at this point, you go get Dan Mullen. You go get Urban Meyer. At this point, I don't care. Hey, they did what they did in their past, this, that, and the other, but
Whoa,
we're trying to win a
2X
football game.
Gators? Wow.
At
T-Experience-
this point, you might as well.
Have you ever asked an ex back out again after the fact? Like, have you ever dated the same woman twice?
Hey, everybody's listening. We got thousands of listeners. No, we're not doing that.
Don't let them do it, TX.
It's not usually a good idea, T-Experience.
No, but yeah, like somebody like Fran Brown. I like Fran Brown, what he's trying to do in Syracuse. I like
Fran Brown a lot too, by the way.
Yeah, and Virginia, our coach
Tony Elliott.
Tony up, yeah. So just somebody that's trying to change or turn the program around.
Lane Kiffin?
And that's not in over the head. No, heck no.
Why do you say that? That'd be the best hire possible.
Oh, come on.
We don't need the sideshow. I mean, we're used to the Urban Meyer sideshow. Dan Mullen wasn't the sideshow, but definitely not Lane. No.
All right.
Thanks, T-Experience.
Thanks, man.
Man, Dan Mullen might be the best thing that's happened to you in the last 20 years, and you ran him out of town.
Yeah,
Wasn't good enough.
And I don't think that'll ever happen again, unfortunately. I was a big fan of Dan Mullen. I really was.
Yeah.
I thought he could develop quarterbacks. I was a fan. We
Let's
got
go.
time for one more?
We got time for Guy. Welcome into the show, Guy.
Hey, how are you? I was saved this weekend because both Clemson and South Carolina lost. But I sat down. If you add 130 yards, Oregon put up a half mile in offense.
Wow. A half mile.
A half mile.
Over Rutgers, right?
Yes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's all.
Thanks, man.
That's it.
Hey, I like that.
Hey, just dropping facts.
Drop it.
Appreciate you, Guy.
Real
There you go.
quick. Let's go through this like super slow. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
You got your ears on? Put your ears back on. Ready? It's too slow, right?
Yeah. Sounds like a Wookiee mating call.
I can't figure out where I am on this. I don't know if he's saying God. To me, it still sounds. I still hear F.
I know. Look, Rick. I'm sure you didn't mean to say it, but that's what it sounds like.
And then the back end was. See, it almost. I hear the UCKS, the UCks, right?
Well,
But
yeah, that's not in question.
I don't know, man. Could you tell that time?
It's I hear F. I hear F.
One more time.
And I like Dan's explanation there.
What Dan say?
Like the little audible drop of the phone kind of garbled that one syllable in just the right place, and it created a controversy that will ripple across the nation.
Let's see. I'm being fired after this. I mean, I'm getting a letter of, dismissal. I can't tell, Rick. I can't tell. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I can't tell. We've got to run off the break, though. We'll get some more overreactions on the other side. A couple of you and I didn't get a chance to get to. Also, looking around the NFL, what was the biggest storyline, man? Dan B mentioned a 33-point comeback. That should never happen, should it? 33 points in one quarter. Brian Daboll just absolutely peeing down his leg. The Panthers getting a win. A little around the NFL next. All right, so I'm going to play it one more time for those on the stream that can hear it. So the stream will be able to hear it, but it won't go over the air. Yeah. Ready, Mattcraft, April? For those 159 watching, here's the full clip again. Let me take it out of aux. Can you hear that? Let me know if you can hear it. I took it out of program.
Monitor.
Oh, I can hear it. She can hear it. What do y'all think? Is it B or F? I don't know, man. I still think it's F. See you soon. Texter says if Bryce had a decent O-line, he'd be a great quarterback. He won the Heisman. He can make throws and play really well if he has a halfway good players around him. Well, Texter, I got news for you. Winning the Heisman means nothing when you step on a field on a Sunday. And I mean nothing. Like, no disrespect to winning the Heisman, but winning the Heisman has never correlated to NFL success. Have there been Heisman Trophy winners that have went on and had good NFL careers? Sure. But like that, to me, that just doesn't mean anything. I don't care if you win the Heisman. You play on Sunday, that's a different game. A completely different game.
I am looking at what were Bryce Young's stats in 2021, his Heisman Trophy winning season. 4,800 yards, 47 pass touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 15 games for Alabama. It helps that you have the most elite receiving room basically anybody in college football is putting together.
And the best coach ever.
Yeah. And look, you're still playing an SEC schedule, right?
Great
so
offensive
you're still playing
line.
a whole lot of really good teams and a lot of really good defenses, but those stats are also propped up a little bit by, I'm sure, his performances in the weaker games, the weaker opponents that they faced. When you've got everything stacked your way, got the best O-line, the best receivers, the best protection, the best tight ends, the best everything, the best scheme, it's a lot easier to be successful. When you move into the NFL and you've got an awful O-line and you've got awful receivers and you've got awful tight end protection and no running back, and I'm talking the last couple years, I'm not talking about this season specifically, you're less likely to find that immediate success.
Yeah, it's true. Kevin Buggs on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says, as a Bills fan, I'm pretty sure all Dalton will have to do is hand the ball off. He should never throw. The Bills' run defense is terrible. Each running back should have over 100 yards. That's an interesting point, Kevin. It really is. And I appreciate you getting in on that.
I did see a lot of conversation around whether or not to keep giving the ball to Chuba Hubbard or to give the carries to
Rico.
Rico. How am I blanking on names at the moment? I wasn't planning on going here. So, and the conversation was Rico's only a 1-year rental player, whereas Chuba is on your roster. He's got a contract. You're going to be paying him a lot of money for a lot of years. So that might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And it came out of the mouth of a pretty smart guy, right? He said, give it to your less talented back because you're going to be paying him a lot of money for a couple of years. Don't give it to the guy who is clearly the better football player because you're only going to have him for like 10 more games.
You know what I look at yesterday? Carolina, Rico had 17 carries for 79 yards. Chuba had 14 for 31. Neither running back scored, but which was more effective? Well, one averaged 2.2 yards per carry. The other averaged 4.6, more than double. So Rico, if you watch the game, as most of us did, Rico was the better back yesterday. Chuba had a few nice runs, but Rico was still the better back. You still have to ride with a hot hand. And now that Bryce Young's not going to be your quarterback for a few weeks, you've really got to – hey, as much as Panther fans, Diesel, are upset about that, thank God you got Chuba Hubbard back. Like now, yeah, Andy Dalton's the quarterback, but you've got now not one but two good running backs. And going against Buffalo is going to be super tough, but you've played well at home this year. And, of course, we'll talk about it more. But I don't know, man. I'm not hitting the panic button yet.
Well, it begs the question, why wouldn't you try to find somebody who will pay you something for Chuba Hubbard and keep Rico Dowdle?
Yeah, you could. Maybe like having that depth. Around the NFL, also super disappointed Sunday morning in the Jaguars. I mean, 35-7 loss to the LA Rams, and the Rams are a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're now 5-2 on the season, but the Jags have just been too inconsistent under Trevor Lawrence. It's just far too much inconsistency. And if you want to talk about a team that has potential, now 4-3, there's way too much inconsistency. So I don't know what the deal is there.
So we're going to do a little test live on the air.
All right, let's do it.
You have that audio still available? Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to give my headset over to Stacey Bartrow from WORD 98.9, Voice of the Carolinas. And I want to know, what do you hear from this clip?
And This is, have you prefaced anything or any?
I've given her a little heads
Okay.
up as to what happened.
All right.
And I'm going to leave it up to you to determine, do you hear a B or do you hear an F?
All right, Stacey, you ready?
Uh-huh.
All right, you ready?
Oh,
One more time. I have to hit it quick because I don't want the whole word to go over the
yeah.
air. Ready? One more time. Is that a B or a F? One more time.
That's one of the things where you have to hear within its full context.
Let's do this. Let's take it off the air, take
Yeah.
it out of program,
Yeah.
and play it back for her so she can hear the whole clip. So
Can you hear it now?
Will not hear
Let me
this.
see. Hit it.
No, she can't hear
no,
it now.
I can't hear it.
Hold on. What about now?
That's a
She
buh.
can hear that.
That's a buh.
She says "bah."
Yeah.
So she can hear the whole clip
Yeah.
though now.
Listen,
Yeah.
here's the thing.
So you think you said bucks?
Yes, and I know you're nervous, so you don't want to play it on the air because you're just not sure what he said. He wants to be on the radio, so I would think that he would.
And he's never cursed. Rick's never
But
cursed.
Rick's
before.
also a weirdo who says that
Maybe he was
operates-
drinking.
He says that he has an ice cream shop where his son operates a male stripper pole
Yeah.
business.
But that
for
doesn't have anything to do with this word. Stacy says "bah."
crazy.
There you go.
I say buh.
Breaking
And
news.
don't be messing with my boy Trevor. I love that kid.
Who? Trevor Lawrence?
Yes.
Well, he's just too inconsistent. Too inconsistent.
Don't blame it on Trevor.
Okay. Gosh,
Okay.
look at Stacy coming in here. Just, I'm telling you, you might have to take a third chair. If you, I mean, gosh.
Back in her old digs too, because she used to work out of this
She
studio
doesn't
years
like
ago.
the Trevor Lawrence slander, does she? He's just been too inconsistent. Sorry.
Well.
Also, around the NFL, real quick, just these last few minutes. Look, love him or hate him. I know a lot of people have strong feelings on the guy. Caleb Williams and the Bears are playing really good football. They're 4-2 on the year, 26-14 win yesterday. I know the Saints aren't good, but this Caleb Williams guy, I mean, Ben Johnson, this is a decent little Bears team, man. And we'll see, we'll see as the season goes on, but they're running the ball. Swift's been impressive. Caleb Williams has been impressive. I'm not the biggest Caleb Williams fan either, Diesel, but I didn't know if Ben Johnson would be able to do this so quickly. He has.
Good news for them. They have got 1, 2, 3, probably 3 built-in wins in a row upcoming. So they've in a row, they've beat the Cowboys, beat the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Saints. Then they go on the road at Baltimore, on the road at Cincinnati, which maybe not quite a given anymore, but we'll see. The Giants at home.
Yeah.
So they could rattle off 7 wins in a row. Think about that. Start 0-2 and then being at that point 7-2. I don't know how sustainable it is because the Bears, they always make dumb decisions and let guys go they shouldn't let go. But if they can keep this core together, man, this might be a franchise that starts to really rebuild.
What I don't know, Diesel, when you look around the NFL from this past weekend, what do you do if you're an owner of a football team and your team loses to the Cleveland Browns 31-6? The Miami Dolphins now 1-6 on the year. And I had this as one of my overreactions that I didn't get to. That guy's got to be fired immediately. What are we doing, Diesel? This guy they're 1-6.
Now I'm thinking that Mike McDaniel must have compromising photos of the team owner's wife.
Maybe.
That's the only way.
And the answer is not Tua either. You go watch these games, Tolos. Tua he's just not seeing the field. And McDaniel is not putting them in a good spot. You've got to do something. This just can't continue. The guy's just pitiful post game.
Yeah.
This is a bad look for the NFL.
1-6. They're going to lose at Atlanta. They might beat the Ravens. I mean, that's a coin flip at this point. They're going to lose to the Bills. They're going to lose to the Commanders. It's not getting much better from here.
They won't win 5 games.
Good news is they're going to have the opportunity to draft Tua's replacement.
Yeah, they need to go ahead and hire Mike's replacement too. Also around the NFL, Diesel, the Chiefs look back. They're 4-3 now, 31-0 yesterday win. And I know the Raiders are not good, but still, the Chiefs are starting to click. That should be a scary thought for the rest of the NFL. Mahomes was brilliant yesterday. No really surprise there. It doesn't shock many people that the Chiefs are figuring it out all of a sudden. The Eagles
don't whisper it into existence.
I know, and just in the same breath, the Eagles looked a good, they looked good yesterday. Touchdown in every quarter, 28-22 win over the Vikings. They're now 5-2. AJ Brown got involved, and then I think the biggest storyline from the NFL yesterday is the Broncos Giants. Diesel, the Denver Broncos scored 33 points in the fourth quarter of play.
Epic comeback meets epic collapse at the same time.
How is Brian Daboll not fired?
Both of those things are true at the same time. I mean, God, that performance from Denver across the board in the fourth quarter, it was a thing of beauty. I mean, it will – I know it's not, contextual the same way. It doesn't hold the same weight as, the Falcons.
Yeah. Blowing
that lead to the Patriots.
I just don't know. I don't know, like – you're Brian Daboll. You're now 2-5. I know Jackson Dart's been a spark, but like Diesel, you can't do that. You can't like that's grounds for being canned. I mean, a 33-point comeback in one quarter.
And it's not as if, they weren't scoring in the fourth quarter. The Giants, they put up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
I know. It's awful. I mean, that's the most embarrassing choke job I've ever seen in my life.
Also, if your field goal kicker can hit a PAT.
Yeah,
you'd win that game because they missed 2 in the same game and you lost by 1.
Let's go to the phone lines. Bryant wants to get in at 844-326-3663. What's up, Bryant?
Hey, man, I just wanted to say you gave me the segue into my Denver Broncos and that amazing comeback yesterday. But what I wanted to lay on you guys was that, they put Demaryius Thomas in the Ring of Honor Sunday.
Yeah.
And basically – he died when he was 33. They had a 33-point comeback in the fourth quarter.
Oh.
The last drive, the winning drive, started with 33 seconds, and they had 2 8-point drives, which is his number 88.
Wow.
Call it.
How do you explain that?
Poetic justice. Call it a miracle. Call it touch from above.
Well,
I don't know.
It's just like, I mean, if you guys have been around sports your whole life, the Broncos, that's a magical thing, right?
Sure.
Denver and the Broncos, that's a magical thing, like Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish, just, that's what it is there. Like I remember when Peyton Manning was looking for a team to go to and everybody was saying San Francisco. I was telling everybody in my circle, I said, if he's a football guy, he's going to pick Denver because he knows that Denver, they're always there, bro.
Yeah.
They're always there. They're a quarterback away or this player away, but Denver's always there. We had some down years, but we're back now, baby. We're back.
And you've got
place number 1.
And you've got one of the best coaches, Brian. You've got one of the best coaches in the National Football League too.
But think about the organization as a whole, bro. They just been winners. I've been watching them since the 70s. They win. You know what I mean? And that feeling is back into my heart, bro.
I love it. Are you from there or are you from the upstate?
I'm from Michigan, but
gotcha.
My family is between Michigan and Denver. So
that's awesome.
Between Michigan and Denver. So
that's awesome.
Lions, Pistons, Nuggets, Broncos.
I like
there
it.
You go.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. There are some programs in college football. There are some franchises in the NFL that it's so baked into their DNA that they win that you can't keep them down for long. They always find ways to come back.
It's like us Cowboys. It's baked into our – no. You let me finish. It's baked into our DNA to choke.
Oh,
there you see.
Okay.
I was going there. I was going responsible.
Uno reverso.
That's right. I got it. And by the way, I mean, who's playing better in the NFL right now than Dak Prescott? I'll wait. 3 touchdowns yesterday, 21 of 30. Bo Nix not playing better than Dak Prescott. No, there's no way. I love Bo Nix. I'm actually a big Bo Nix fan. I love Bo Nix. But Dak Prescott right now.
Bo knows ball. Different Bo, but you know.
Cool that guy off with some water.
When we come back, Cole, we had some overreactions earlier in the show that we didn't get a chance to get to. You and I will share ours and debate it out next. Cole, I lost a grand total of 5 different times this weekend. Let me tell you how that happened. First of all, I drive all the way to Columbia to watch South Carolina lose and get absolutely spanked. I do have some familial ties with Clemson. They lost. That's loss number 2. Loss number 3 is that my team, App State, lost to Coastal Carolina. Loss number 4 is that my wife, the woman that I have chosen to spend the rest of my life with, picked Coastal Carolina to upset App State in the Upset Picks Challenge, and Dewey is now ahead of me. That's 5 losses.
That's a tough weekend. At least your Panthers won, though.
Bad weekend.
But look at the positive. The Panthers are above 500.
We're all in like swip swap world. The Panthers are supposed to suck.
I know.
App State's supposed to win, but we're in bizarro world right now, and I don't like it.
The best part about the upset picks is I am no longer on the right side of the board.
You're up the middle.
Yes.
Cole has moved.
I love it.
To 64th place with 15 points.
That's all I needed was momentum.
The leader in the clubhouse still Dave Mosley. Dave got his pick wrong. He took USC to upset Notre Dame this weekend.
I'm telling you, man, the tide's turning.
He's got 69. USC Justin in second place with 57. Canes Transplant third place with 47.5. Puppy Monkey Baby with 47 points. And my wife, FU Ashley.
Wow.
45.5 points.
Who let her play?
5th place.
Gosh.
I send her the picks that I usually use for our early leans. See, I'm so messed up I can't even think. I send early leans. I send my early leans to her.
Why?
And she usually picks based on the most asinine criteria. Like, for example, she picked Bowling Green to upset, was it Toledo a couple weeks ago? Because Bowling Green has the kitty cat mascot.
Well, how about quit sending her picks? I mean, God, people would like a chance at this thing.
You would think if I go 1 out of 5 and she always hits the right one, occasionally I would hit the right one too.
And why don't you just pick the same game she does?
I need
That's what you need to start doing
it. Because here's my fear. The moment I do that, she goes ice cold.
Well, you got to try it.
Ice cold.
You got to at least try.
That's what's going to, So, Tolos, the picks are up. They are up on our Facebook and our Twitter page. Not the picks, but the standings are up on our Facebook and our Twitter page. Of course, we appreciate and thank our sponsor, Ingles Markets, for helping us out with the Upset Picks Challenge. The rest of the top 10, Coach AJ, Kevin Buggs, Bo from Greer, Jacob in Spartanburg, and Keith in TR. Your picks, your points, all of it are there. T Experience could fall off the board. MTC Scott, how about Scott? He's about to fall off the board. He's got to have a point. And Jay Bird does as well. And I know we'll have him on this week, so he's not gonna pick in. But Bill Bender down to 1.5 points.
Bill, what are you doing, man?
I'm not doing much better though. I've got 4.5 points, tied for 104th place.
You know, the best part and the worst part about this Upset Picks Challenge is once you hit, you feel like, for whatever reason, that's going to create momentum for you. Like, this is a real sport. Like, like there's actually skill involved. I'm going to play the side that there is momentum, and I'm going to ride that momentum, baby, because I need to get on a run, but I just don't know if that's true.
I just want to hit one again.
Well, you've hit twice this year.
I have, but it's not helping me.
Me and you have both now hit twice. That was only my second hit yesterday.
But yours was worth a lot of
9.5. Yeah.
RJ asked about his score. RJ, I'm trying to find you here on the list. RJ, where are you on? God, there's so many names who have points that are way above me. RJ, you're in 11th place. You're tied for 11th.
Jeez,
with Gamecock Tim.
That's really good. 11th place. I mean, that's impressive. It really is. By the way, real quick before we run to a break, breaking news from Grayson Mann, and I did retweet this a few seconds ago at Cole Bryson on X. Dabo Sweeney says that wide receiver Bryant Wesco is out for the remainder of the 2025 season. Obviously, we talked about it with Grayson that he had to go to the hospital after the game. Wesco fell directly on his head on a punt return. He has been released, which is good news. Very good news, but he is done for the season. So that is not good because you're talking about your guy. Like, you're still got TJ Moore and others, but Bryant Wesco being out, that
might have
doesn't
to
help.
move Adam Randall back to receiver.
That
might be the best thing. This is your opportunity, right?
Then who runs the football? Cade Klubnik and Christopher Vecina. Cade's playing quarterback. No,
Wade Woodaz. I don't know.
Cade's playing running back. Vecina's playing quarterback, I guess. I don't know, but a little bit of news there. Speaking of Clemson, Diesel, let's dive back into that conversation for the new audience coming up at 6 o'clock. I have some really bad news for Clemson fans, but I also have some really good news. We'll get into that next.
Jeez.
Well, we've got to get to the bad news, and we've got to get to the good news. If you are a Clemson Tiger fan, if you're a Gamecock, well, we've already talked about your team. We'll continue to talk about the Gamecocks as the week goes on. But if you want to, you can go back to the very first segment of the show on the free Odyssey app with a rewind feature. But for those of you that just tuned in, maybe you're heading home from work on this Monday edition of Wire to Wire, welcome into the show. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you. But Diesel, in what we saw with Clemson, I know South Carolina is a big story. Both programs in a similar spot at 3-4, but with preseason expectations as high as they were for Clemson, I've gathered some good news. I've gathered some bad news, and I want to hit the bad first because you always want to set it up and then, provide some clarity. The bad news for Clemson, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Diesel, as well as the Tolos out there at 864. Not 864, 844 fan phone, FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. The bad news is, Diesel, this program under Dabo Swinney, here's where I'm going to start, is in an unprecedented spot. Dabo Swinney, as long as he's been the coach at Clemson, in my opinion, has never had to face this kind of uphill climb that I believe Dabo Swinney is going to have to face. Do you think that's fair?
Well, the conditions of the game have certainly changed tremendously from when he first took over the job. That was an uphill climb. That was a mountain.
It was
an
uphill
climb.
climb.
That's very true.
It was.
But you could do things in the traditional way. You could spread your message to recruits and say, "Hey, we're gonna do things better than every other program when it comes to making you good men." And then they started winning, and then it snowballed the right way. It snowballed uphill instead of snowballed downhill.
Sure.
Things have snowballed downhill. Now Dabo's got to figure out how to push that rock back up a hill.
And to your point, Diesel, when Dabo Swinney took over at Clemson, there were not expectations anywhere close to the type of expectations there are now, right? And again, those expectations that he created. Tomorrow on the show, I have the audio of James Franklin and Nick Saban on Game Day. Tolos, by the way, if you hadn't seen that, tune in tomorrow. It's really good stuff if you haven't heard it. But the reason I want to bring this up, with the bad news first and then the good news in a few minutes, I think the bad news for Clemson fans is, Diesel, their program after this 3-4 start is in a truly unprecedented spot where Dabo Swinney has never had to charter these waters before. And I think the bad news is, and we talked about this a little bit with Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com, Diesel, I think the bad news is the fact that your leader of your program, Dabo Swinney, has never had to chart these kind of waters before. He's built this program up from what you said when Tommy Bowden left it. Dabo built it up, and he won 2 national championships. But Dabo Swinney, I believe the challenge that he's facing now and going into this offseason, I think this is his biggest challenge yet. So for him to be faced with what you just said, pushing that boulder back up the hill, if he were to be able to get Clemson back, I think this would be the most impressive feat yet under Dabo Swinney. But Diesel, the reason I say this is the worst of the worst news is because Clemson fans, while they all love Dabo, are trusting a guy that in this new era of college football has not proven anything. And I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback for that. But in this new era, Dabo Swinney has not proven that he can compete at the highest level.
It's kind of like a reset button. As the
what's your name?
Landscape of the game has changed tremendously. His resume has essentially been reset, and Dabo doesn't see it that way. Cole, I don't know if you've ever experienced this. Maybe some of our Tolos have. You date somebody for a while, and it seems like you're headed towards a more serious escalation of your relationship. I'm talking marriage, long-term commitment, all that kind of stuff. Oh, then you break up, and you break up for a little while, like a couple months, and then you find yourselves coming back together and getting back together. The question is, have you now been dating for 5 years plus the time that you just added to it, or have you just been dating again for a couple of months?
Yeah, I'm with you. I see what you're saying.
So the question
you
is,
had the break,
if
right?
if you date somebody for 5 years, you take a break, and then you date again for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been dating for 6 months, or have you been dating for 5 years
Correct.
and 6 months?
No, that's
because then the expectation immediately comes back from one of those people like, hey, we've been together for 5 years. It's time to escalate this relationship to the next level.
Sure.
And it's like, the terms of service have changed here.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything has changed about this relationship. We need to establish solid footing in this new 6-month relationship before we even approach going down that road.
And again, that's why I think when I start this segment with the bad news and the good news, and I start with the bad news, I believe, Diesel, that Clemson, when you look at the state of their program, I believe you're in a worse spot now than you were when Dabo took over. And I know that might really not resonate well with a lot of Clemson fans, because they may say, look, you got to remember Tommy Bowden's program, what happened. I get it. But again, this captain that's on this boat, that's on this vessel, has never, ever, ever sailed these seas before in a successful manner. That's just a fact. Dabo Swinney sailed the other seas, the other oceans, and Diesel, we know what he did. He won 2 national championships, but those oceans and those seas that he was successful in are nothing in comparison to these seas.
Yeah.
So that's my point. I believe when I say here's the bad news, I believe that you are in a worse spot now than you were when Dabo took over. Now, again, we'll get to the good news in just a few minutes, because the good news is really, really good news that I've got for you. But ultimately, this captain that you Clemson fans are all on the boat with, you're asking the captain, hey, captain, have you what's your resume in this new ocean, these new seas that we're sailing? Well, I hadn't been too good in these, oceans. But you know what? In that previous journey, man, I could do it all. I could sail with the best of them, and we won 2 national championships, and we were just we were the best in those old seas that we sailed. But here in this new one, not so much.
You know, many a sea captain that thought they were very good at sailing and they could navigate charts and all that kind of stuff. Many of those captains ran their ships aground in shallow waters because they were out of their depth. They didn't really know how to navigate waters that had sharp, jagged rocks just below the surface. They didn't know exactly where those things were. If you were in a big ship, Cole, and you were trying to navigate, to use our own local geography, just across, just off the coast of North Carolina, you know how many shipwrecks are out there? Hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of shipwrecks are out there. Would you rather have somebody as the captain of your vessel who is used to navigating around all those rocks and knows where every single one of those things are, because they've spent their entire life battling those conditions and getting good at navigating in those conditions? Or would you rather have somebody who's used to being out there in deep water, who never has to deal with that kind of stuff?
No, I'm with you. You want somebody, again, it's almost like a complete new venture, right? It's a complete new exploration. You've never been in these new seas and been successful. And I know, again, Clemson fans that are out there listening may not like that, but your coach has not been successful in these new seas. Now, again, that's really bad news, because you're trusting this guy who brought you to the mountaintop in an old sport. I think you're in a worse spot now than you ever have been under Dabo Swinney. I do have good news. But before we get to the good news, let's go to the phone lines. Matt from Ohio wants to give his 2 cents. Matt, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to give you, again, some perspective from an Ohio transplant, an Ohio State fan. I feel like what you're saying is true, but I'm going to point to the transfer portal. And I know you guys have had this discussion. If you look at Ohio State's national title last year, that doesn't happen without the transfer portal players that they brought
100%.
in. Was returning. I'm going to say that it doesn't matter nearly as much, because you effectively have free agency in college football. So if you're thin on the offensive line, like as Ohio State was this year coming into this season, you just go to Rice, you go to Minnesota, you poach players. And I mean, I know that's kind of a sore subject with people. And again, I said this earlier, I called in about a month ago. I have all the respect in the world for Dabo.
Sure.
And, it is easy to give people kind of a get out of jail free card when, you've got national titles. But college football is changing, and the landscape is changing. And if you're thin in a position, the years of developing players, the good players are going to leave early. And if you're weak somewhere, you need to go in the portal and get the right people. Now it's, there are teams that are spending a lot of money that really haven't improved, but I'm going to say this. I mean, I just feel like Dabo, I respect his position on, being loyal to the guys that he recruited. I get that. And I think that's admirable, but I think that's a very dangerous attitude to have in college football today. I just don't think that, like it used to be, people would say, well, hey, next year we're going to be way better because we're going to have these incoming or these guys that we had last year, are going to be a year older. But what you have to understand is that the teams around you, if they're effectively using the portal, are dealing with those deficiencies in real time.
Sure.
And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I see. And the other thing I'd just say to Clemson fans out there is, look, it's okay to have expectations. I've said this before, if Ryan Day would have lost Saturday, if he would have lost Wisconsin, people would have been saying, we got to fire this guy. He's terrible. That's just the nature of high expectations. But I think that's okay. And people say, oh, the fan base is rabid. Well, the fan base is unrealistic. But I think when you lower those expectations, even if it's the fan base, I think that's a dangerous place to be because, what's the next step? Are you going to accept mediocrity?
Matt, I think you're dead on. I think so. And I appreciate it because that was a perfect segue to the good news. Thanks for the call, Matt.
Appreciate you, Matt.
Please call anytime.
To something that Matt said and back to something you said earlier, I think it was in the first segment of the show. You were ripping on Shane Beamer for saying that what gives him hope is the fact that he sees his guys in practice and he knows how hard they work and he knows how much talent they have.
Sure.
Dabo Swinney is guilty of the exact same thing. He looks at himself and looks at his own players that he recruited in practice, and he's got this like self-confirmation bias.
Yeah.
That I know these guys. I recruited them from high school. I had them committed forever, and I got them to shut down their recruiting as soon as they signed at Clemson, and they didn't take any more visits anywhere else, and they've been with me and they've stayed loyal. So he takes those things and he stacks them one on top of the other and sort of builds up in his mind that this player, without a doubt, is getting better year after year after year after year. But that's not how college football works. Guys develop some kind of sprint out of the gate, some develop slower. It's like an accordion system, right? So I think Dabo builds up in his mind that all of his players are just leveling up season after season after season when they might be getting +1 in, to use video game parlance, +1 in XP at the quarterback position because they went from a good quarterback to a slightly better quarterback this year to next year.
Mm-hmm.
But your competition is jumping like 10 XP.
Yeah.
Because they can go pluck whoever they want off of any other roster that they want, and they're paying to get them in there immediately. Some of these guys, they come in and they sit number 2 on the depth chart. Sometimes you got to throw them out there, and you discover, wow, we have a Trinidad Chambliss, a guy that was a D2 quarterback last year. And he comes in and he's amazing for our roster. And that's what Dabo Swinney is missing out on.
And Dabo Swinney was really effective at that before the portal and before an IL. And Dabo Swinney's methodologies and Dabo Swinney's ways, they work.
It's because everybody else was having to do the same thing.
And he was using the same paddles as everybody else, right? To go back to the ocean experiment. But to your point, to Matt, and again, Matt, call anytime. Really appreciate the phone call at 844-326-3663. For all the bad that I said leading into the segment or in the first part of the segment, that you're 3-4, you've lost a large portion of the fan base faith in this staff. You've lost trust that this Clemson regime on staff can get it done. You've lost faith in your Heisman potential quarterback. You've lost faith in Dabo's ability to use the portal.
You've lost your number 1 wide receiver to a neck injury.
Right. And you've now, pretty much had to hit the reboot button. So with all of that bad, all of the bad. You stack all of it up, Clemson fans, and you can stack it from the floor all the way to the sky. And there's certainly plenty of bad. You take all the bad. The good news is, Diesel, in this very segment that I believe is truly good news if you're Clemson fans, is that the fix to remedy the bad is not nearly as challenging as it would have been 10 years ago. The fix to remedy the bad, the cold medicine now, is one of those bottles of cold medicine you take and bam, it's going to hit within the next 4 to 6 hours. The good news is that you are in position with Clemson University still being looked at as a prime destination and having good resources. The good news is that you are in position to fix this and fix it quick because of what Matt brought up, because of the portal, because of NIL, because of your recent success. The good news is, Diesel, that this issue is very fixable. The 3 and 4 starts fixable, the quarterback plays fixable, the offensive line plays fixable, the offensive coordinator, the inability to help your quarterback and offense from a play calling standpoint, that's fixable. The defense, the secondary, is horrible as it is right now. That's fixable. The effort, all of the issues with effort that you saw on Saturday against SMU, that's fixable. Everything's fixable. Injuries, that's fixable. Everything's fixable. That's the good news. There is a caveat. And the caveat is the guy who's, again, going back to the expression of the boat on the sea, is the guy that's leading the ship willing to about face, right, and completely open up and turn from what he knew as college football what it once was. Is your captain willing to do what it takes to get you there? Because all the bad, Diesel, it's all fixable. But it's not fixable unless your captain is willing to do the hard things to get there. And I think that's the biggest question right now for Clemson fans, is they don't know, as much as they love Dabo, they don't know in their heart of hearts if Dabo's willing to completely change himself in order to change the trajectory of this program.
Do you remember as a kid when you would get sick and your mom would try to give you a spoonful of medicine? And as a kid, it tasted awful.
Yeah.
Bitter. It's nasty. You don't want it. At the time, you don't realize that it's going to make you better. All you think at that exact moment is, this is not going to taste good. I don't want this. And that's where Dabo Swinney is right now. Changing your mind, changing your policy, maybe reevaluating and saying, hey, I think I need to spend some money and get some guys in here in the portal. We'll spend whatever it takes. We won't throw this excuse of, well, we tried. We threw $100 at a guy that really wants $2 million at him. So see, we offered him, but he just didn't choose us.
Yeah.
You have to really be willing to commit to the medicine that it takes. And so far Dabo isn't. And I remember saying a year ago, Cole, that this year, 2025, would be a referendum on Dabo Swinney's mindset and mentality. And if it worked, maybe other schools and other coaches would come around to it. But if it didn't, it was going to fail miserably. And it's failed miserably.
Keith in TR says, so if you see how good your players are and then get whipped on Saturdays, it's a coaching problem and your coaches need to go. Again, the last thing I'll say before we run to a break, and we're going to talk Clemson with Grayson Mann next, Diesel. But the last thing I'll say, Dabo Swinney has always been big on program. That's fine. That's dandy. Nothing wrong with that. However, I've said it already on the show today, and I'll say it again. It's not about the programs anymore. This is a new sport. This is a new ocean. These are new seas. They're uncharted. You've never been there. The program bull crap, none of that resume crap matters anymore. It doesn't matter to the players. It doesn't matter to the fans. We live in a transactional college football, Diesel. That's all that matters. And if Dabo's not willing to forget all that program crap and understand that it's about team, then we're going to have the same exact conversation this time next year.
Grayson Mann coming up next. Diesel and Cole Bryson. Grayson, before we get too deep into these questions, what's the absolute latest on Bryant Wesco's neck injury? Do we have any updates since kind of what was coming out earlier today?
Yeah, none that I'm really able to provide at this time. But he did share an update on social media. So anytime you have a player with a neck concern, if he's able to move extremities like typing on his phone, for example, I think that's a positive update. We're going to get more from Dabo Sweeney here in about an hour. But if you guys really want my full take, when you got a coach asking the fan base for prayers hours after the game and he's in the hospital for a neck injury, when the season's trending the way it's trending, I wouldn't play him.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's tough to hear. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. If you have a question, Clemson-related for Grayson, hit us up on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-326-3663. 3-4 now, Grayson, are the Clemson Tigers. You and I and everybody else heard Dabo Sweeney post-game against SMU. I know you've had a chance to rewatch it. Your biggest takeaway and what went wrong for Clemson on Saturday?
Yeah, it's been a season that's continued to really outline the issues program-wide that have really plagued Clemson so far in 2025. But I'm watching that game, and I think a lot of the big talking points prior to that matchup is they knew Christopher Vizina was going out there to start. I don't think Klubnik, his chances of playing were that high at all. That might have just been purely for window dressing for SMU, just to see if, maybe Klubnik might give it a go today. So you have this idea that you're going to have a quarterback that's making his first start, and the two things you need to establish are the run game, and you need to be solid on defense, and both tasks were failed tremendously on Saturday. Adam Randall had his worst game the day, couldn't read the holes particularly well, and had a couple big blocks that resulted in a strip sack of Vizina where he's absolutely looking for. And in real time, I thought that was more on him. And this is where the rewatch and watching it on the broadcast where they replay it 60 times, you get to see that angle, and Randall completely whiffs on a pressure on the edge from SMU. So overall, I don't think you left that stadium going. And Cole, you and I talked about this heading to the press room. I don't think you leave that stadium going, Christopher Vizina lost you the game on Saturday. Would I like to see more from CV this season? Absolutely. Maybe against a pass defense that's a little bit more capable than SMU. But absolutely, I think that the season, the way it's trending right now, this is just not a good football team. And we continue to get evidence as to why on a weekly basis.
Grayson, putting yourself into Dabo Sweeney's headspace, did Christopher Vizina do enough on Saturday? 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, a good day for him. Did he do enough to secure his role as starter for next year?
No, we don't have enough. I think that, yes, I think he was solid. But at the same time, one start to justify throwing him into the lion's den, that is Death Valley, at LSU on the opening kick for 2026, that's a tall task. That's a tremendous jump. Now, is he capable? If we'd maybe seen this is game 4 and he's slowly getting better, I'd start to be pointing towards yes. But after one game against a bad pass defense where Clemson really wasn't all that willing to push the ball down the field unless it was absolutely necessary, and so for 4th and 21 to Tristan Smith, some throws to TJ Moore that I feel like were more about the receiver than necessarily Vizina putting it in the right spot. He made the right throw, but I wasn't sitting there like, that's an elite throw from Christopher Vizina. I felt like those were elite catches from TJ Moore and Tristan Smith. So my answer is no right now. That's not because I don't think he played bad on Saturday. I think it's just one game isn't enough for me to justify completely leaving a quarterback out of the portal conversation for the offseason.
Grayson, you mentioned Dabo Sweeney speaking in just a little while. No Tuesday presser this week with Clemson having a bye week. What do you believe, not only yourself, but other media members and fans are wanting to hear the most out of when Dabo speaks here in just a little while?
I think it's sort of deja vu where they wanted to see how things would operate after the Syracuse game, where you're heading into an open date with a lot of uncertainty. And he said that it's a new season and Clemson can still win the season. And of course, they went 2-0 on the road. But I think that you and I had talked on Monday last week about what those 2 games necessarily meant for Clemson. Was that the beneficiary of playing bad football teams that are a grade below you in terms of North Carolina's mess and Boston College dealing with a bunch of injuries. That team just lost to UConn on Saturday. I know UConn's gotten a lot better, but not getting really great for Bill O'Brien there in Chestnut Hill. So I think it confirmed a lot of our suspicions about Clemson this year with SMU, is that when they can't rise to the occasion against good football teams. And I would consider SMU a very good, not great, football team, and Clemson was outcoached and outplayed.
Grayson, we know that when a coach gets fired, recruits start abandoning ship. We've seen it several times now already with James Franklin and him leaving at Penn State. Dabo Swinney obviously isn't going anywhere, but the disappointments are starting to stack up for a lot of fans, and that certainly affects recruiting in upcoming classes. Is there an erosion of confidence from anybody that you've heard from or been able to infer who are already committed, or does it seem like those commits, they're holding strong?
I would say Clemson's in a fantastic spot recruiting wise. And at least when we talk about their people that are locked in, they're pledged, they're close to signing the dotted line here in about 2 months. And every conversation that I've had, and I've really pushed the needle when asking certain questions of how does this group necessarily feel about where things are headed? Do they think this is fixable? And the confidence that you've gotten from this group is that they believe not only are things going to be okay, they're going to be the ones to come and do it and fix this thing. I talked to a 4-star safety last night who's committed to Clemson, and he said that this class talks all the time about how this is going to be the group to turn it around, and there's no reason and nobody's concerned about anyone else jumping ship. Dre Quinn, obviously the 4-star defensive end that decommitted, an isolated incident, but overall this class very confident that they're going to all stick together here in the next coming months, and that they're confident they potentially could come in immediately and make things happen.
Grayson, man, tigernet.com. Grayson, a tough one for you here. Big picture kind of question. I am in the camp. I said this back about an hour ago. I'm in the camp that I believe Dabo Swinney has some very, very, very tough decisions to make in the offseason. But I also am in the camp that like I said on the air, I believe that Dabo should be the one that gets the opportunity to get this thing turned around. However, Grayson, I want to ask you, and I ask myself this same question multiple times and have this weekend, in the new era of college football, not pre-portal, not pre-NIL, but in the new era of college football, what has Dabo Swinney shown Clemson fans that we all of a sudden should believe that Dabo can turn this around in the new era of college football?
Right, and there is that argument for sure, is that post Trevor Lawrence, which is about when this NIL thing started, is Clemson's been very average as a program. 1 playoff appearance and 2 conference championships in a league that's been deemed the worst of the Power 4 in between the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC. Clemson's only a 2-time champion, not going to go to Charlotte this year. Multiple 3-loss seasons, multiple 4-loss seasons in that stretch. So, yeah, there is a reason to be doubtful whether Dabo Swinney is going to be the guy to get it done. I think he deserves to be the one to fix this, and this is certainly their worst year. Felt 2023, that wasn't a good football team on talent-wise, and maybe we're discovering that about this year. But this truly feels like the reset where it all comes crashing down. You just had made the playoffs. There was so much hype, tremendous amount of buzz, and it's come crashing down, and it came down pretty quickly. So now with Clemson, it's all about moving forward, and I do think Swinney has deserved and earns the right to be the one to come and fix it. But I think this is his most important offseason yet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of critical decisions he has to make, whether that's staff or through the portal. And so looking at it from just that lens specifically, if things aren't fixed this offseason, and I don't mean like all of a sudden they're 13-0, that's not realistic. I think 9-10 wins next year has got to be sort of that progress bar that you're looking for. Fringe playoff team, if so, maybe you can sneak in. But they got to start making steps and got to evaluate it as this program is, if there's a mountaintop, they're back at the bottom, and they need to find a way to climb. And it's going to be a slow climb, but it's going to come down to what moves they make this offseason to see if that starts to happen, or they start digging a hole 6 feet under.
And I think I'm with you, and I think a lot of people are with you and on the same page that Dabo does deserve the opportunity, but we're not gonna like my biggest problem is we're allowing Clemson fans to say, well, he did go get Will Helt. Like he went and got one guy. Like Will Helt.
Get 10.
Is he like, that's what I'm saying. Do we believe that Dabo Swinney is going to go out between now and freaking April and get 10, 15 guys from the portal? I just don't know if Clemson fans really believe that's going to happen or not.
I think if there's one positive, it's that if you're Dabo Swinney, you're looking at sort of the roster and you start to look at yourself and go, who's giving me the most effort? Who's playing the best as of late? And I got to feel like your top 5 are Will Helt and Tristan Smith in some particular order. And then you start to make that correlation of, okay, there's something there. There's evidence that if I could just bring in maybe a few extra pieces that can make solid contributions, then you can start trending in the right direction. I think at this point in college football, if you want to be a consistent contender, you got to bring in about a quarter of your roster because you're going to lose about a quarter every offseason. And Clemson's going to lose a lot of players that they contribute. They're counting on to contribute in big ways. Now, you may feel differently about them than you did in August, but you're still losing bodies. And so you got to go fill that. Will this class upcoming still be ready? Not entirely sure. I know they have guys that can come in and immediately play. Naeem Burrows is one of those at receiver that I think can come in and be an instant impact player. But that's one of 20. And we could certainly dive into the weeds of that recruiting class. But overall, you got to go into the portal and find guys you are confident in, don't need to be in the crock pot. There's not a situation where you go get it, Tristan Smith and a Jeremiah Alexander. They haven't really played much this year. You got to go find a different type of player. You got to go find 10 Will Helts who can come in and start immediately. And that's the nature of the business now. That's what makes Ohio State, Notre Dame. We could go on and on and on, but that's what makes some of those great teams championship contenders.
Grayson, do you think it's possible, and maybe the most realistic way to ask this question, is there enough money for Dabo to have his cake and eat it too? Is it possible to maintain 2 systems when it comes to NIL? Giving the guys who remain loyal, who perform, giving those guys NIL as they get deeper and deeper into their careers, and at the same time have a pool of money large enough to go buy a couple of players, for lack of a better word, buy a couple of guys who can immediately impact?
I think next year you're going to be in a better situation financially because you were so tied to the players that were still here, the Klubniks, the Parkers, the Antonio Williams, the Peter Woods. A lot of cash was in retention. Now I think a lot of cash is going to be in more of a shopping spree because realistically, I think Clemson can compete on a national level in the transfer portal. And now there's going to be this sense of you can come in and be the guy to do it and come rebuild with this group. They've gone out and competed for a Will Helt, who was a high commodity in the transfer portal, because they really felt like on this roster, they didn't need too many pieces because they had the retention was so there. It was supposed to be Dabo's year of him doing it his way while adding a few pieces in the portal. That hasn't become the case. So this upcoming offseason, when you lose so many players, you got to question at quarterback. I do think you're going to have a lot more money to play around with to be a little bit more creative in the transfer portal. So that's what I think is exciting, is it's put up or shut up time. And I think we'll get to see what Swinney does here in a few months and how true he will stick to that philosophy.
Grayson, there's a narrative going around, and we had a texter getting in with us earlier in the show about this, and I don't know where you stand. I'd love to know, but the theory that Garrett Riley is not running his offense, I simply don't believe that's true. I have asked and probed and really digged to find out if that's true, and I have not found anything that leads me to believe that. Where do you stand on that narrative that I've heard now for several years?
Yeah, it's been the popular narrative, and I think you never help yourself when Swinney's first words when Riley sits on that desk in the Smart Family Media Center and goes, he's not coming here to run his offense. He's running here to come the Clemson offense.
Yeah.
So then people naturally begin to wonder.
Right, and the texter brought that up too. Yeah.
Yes, so that quote doesn't help you, but I have everything that I know and everything that I've heard. Garrett's running the show. He's calling the shots. Dabo obviously has a tremendous amount of input. He's the head coach. All head coaches do. That's just the belly of the beast, the nature of how things are run. But overall, I haven't heard anything that would indicate that Riley's being paid millions of dollars to just kind of sit there on the sideline. That's not happening.
Correct.
At Gray_man21 on Twitter. Go find him, give him a follow. We saw Nick Saban stack kind of wayward head coaches who had been fired on his staff for years. This is just kind of a thought experiment. What recently fired or hot seat coach would fit right into this staff if Dabo wanted to start doing the same thing, bringing in more and more guys? And I know Tom Allen was a head coach a couple of years ago, but who do you think would say, all right, that guy would fit right in?
It's funny because he left the same way, but Billy Napier is a name that's been thrown around as being an offensive piece, as someone to come in. I see it at the top of the screen here about Napier, so I feel like that's probably low-hanging fruit. But there are some coaches that you look around the country, I don't know if they'll necessarily be hot commodities on the coaching search. And you did see Dabo Swinney bringing someone like Mike Houston, who was let go and is in sort of an analyst role that's, as sort of put it, it's an unpaid volunteer, which is the best part because someone else is paying his contract. So maybe there's an aspect of you can get the phone and say, hey, maybe you give this 2 years and you help Clemson back to restore it to its former glory, and there will be a head coaching job around for you somewhere because I got the contacts and the connections to be able to do it. There's possibilities, and that's what makes this offseason fun, is there's going to be a lot of movement, not just players in the portal, but it's going to be like the coaching portal in a sense. And maybe Napier isn't an immediate head coaching candidate, but man, would he be a great assistant somewhere? I wonder where.
Grayson, a few texts to get to in just a second. Before we move off of Garrett Riley, though, yes or no, in your opinion, not asking you to reveal any news or sources that you have or anything, but in your opinion, is Garrett Riley back next year?
I would be shocked if Garrett Riley's back next year.
Me too. Yeah. I think everybody's pretty much on the same page.
Grayson, you might get more and more of these opportunities, but Duke Clemson kickoff now set for noon on November 1st. For you personally, I don't know how much travel you have to do, but man, it's a lot going down to Clemson multiple times a week. What is the most elite time slot for you to be able to do your job? You got the noon slot, the 3:30 slot, or the night game?
Man, I mean, I like each one because I get to cover a game, but it's tough because I think a night game, you get to sort of sit around and watch college football all day, and then you're the main show. That's what made the LSU game so much fun, is you get to watch Ohio State, Texas at noon. You got to watch Alabama, Florida State at 3:30, and then boom, all of a sudden you're covering Clemson, LSU. And that was a blast in its own right. Obviously, fans of the Tigers, whichever way you want to go, loved or hated the result. But me sitting there, that's a fun football day. So personally for me, I like a noon kick because you can get up early in the morning, you can get it done, and then you can go watch football. And I have always enjoyed a Saturday night where I can go see my friends and just talk some football, especially with the Clemson game where everyone's kind of settled down a tad. So team no sleep, love a noon game. 3:30, nice little balance. 8 p.m., heck, who wouldn't want a primetime game? So I'm fine with all of them. We can play it 3 a.m. and I'd be happy.
Grayson, you might have heard this by now. You're a busy guy. You're covering your own beat, but have you heard the audio yet of Jack Veltri getting Shane Beamer a little testy early in his press conference? No,
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
It hasn't been a great year in Columbia either. So
I tell you what, let's play it. Let's let Grayson man hear this live on the air. This was the second question in Shane Beamer's post-game press conference after the loss to Oklahoma.
It's 7 games now. The offense has just continued to struggle. At some point, do you feel like a change is needed, whether it's...
I made a change last week, Jack.
And then I'm talking about the play calling.
Every week, we're continuing to look at how to be better, and every week I do that. And every week, I will continue to do that and continue to evaluate that.
What gives you hope that the play
Next question.
Okay.
Okay.
When was the last time you, or the time that sticks out in your mind of when you got Dabo Swinney that heated?
When I did personally?
Yeah. Has it even happened?
Oh, it has. So there was a time, so they had just finished playing Georgia last year. And of course, this is like maybe 2 months into this full-time gig with TigerNet. So I was thinking like, oh man, I just pissed Dabo Swinney off like 2 months into
You're
this.
done.
Great.
You're fired. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had said in July, trying to give App State a lot of credit. And so he said, man, it doesn't matter what happens in the Georgia game because we got to turn it around and play a really good App State team. We got to have some urgency. And I had just watched Florida State within basically, 6 days go to 0-2. And so I just asked him, trying to bridge the two together, his statement and how quickly you can go 0-2. into a question, and he just heard Florida State and got really upset with me. He's like, I'm not talking about Florida State here. Like, what are we doing? And I was just sitting there in the front row, red as a cherry, embarrassed. I was like, oh, man. But you know what? It happens. And so sometimes there's a natural conflict arises between coach and media. So Jack does great work. I don't know him personally, but he does good stuff for South Carolina. And hey, sometimes if you get first name by head coach, it's not all bad.
No big deal. You just keep on moving. Grayson, you're the best, man. Can't wait to see and hear what Dabo says coming up shortly. People can follow you on Twitter where to see those comments?
Yeah, follow me at Gray_man21. We'll have a Bryant Wesco update, I believe. Sweeney will go in depth on that. And then just overall, he gives his breakdown on what the heck happened on Saturday. And I think that's always nice to get that film breakdown from Sweeney. I have a few questions myself. Can't wait to go. Guys, you two are the best.
Appreciate
have
you,
a great
man.
Open date.
You too. GraysonManTigerNet.com.
The Rich Eisen Show, tomorrow at noon, only on The Fan, Upstate.
Mike Sennett with your sports flash on The Fan, Upstate. Carolina Panthers win their third straight. They beat the Jets 13-6. Bryce Young had a touchdown pass before he left the game with an ankle injury. Former Gamecock J.C. Horn with a couple of interceptions. Clemson wide receiver Bryant Wesco remains in the hospital for further testing on his neck and spine. Wesco injured on a punt return, and the Tigers lost to SMU Saturday. South Carolina hosting at
Wherever you listen, we bring the game.
The best two words in all of sports, Diesel. Game 7.
I thought you were going to say free beer.
Nope. That's the second best. Evidently, according to you beer drinkers.
I'll take
The
both.
first best Game 7 tonight, Diesel, between the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays. The winner gets a lovely visit with the LA Dodgers, and it should be a lot of fun.
The winner gets the privilege
Yeah.
of getting trounced by Shohei Ohtani in the most expensive roster ever committed to team.
They're going to call it Shohei is the new term, just so you know the correct term there. But I love Game 7. This has been a fun series thus far. Diesel, let's do a little picking. Let's give a little prediction tonight. Who do you like? Are you going with the Blue Jays or are you going with the Mariners if you had to pick one?
Oh, man, the Blue Jays are hot right now.
They've won a few in a row, right?
It's hard not to pick them. I'm going to go Blue Jays.
I'm going to go Blue Jays as well.
Even though I grew up a Mariners, like a quasi Mariners fan as a kid, because who didn't love King Griffey Jr.?
Yeah. Well, Toronto's playing. They're both playing good baseball, but I'm going with a hot hand. Give me the Blue Jays. I agree with you.
Plus, it's too much West Coast. If it's Seattle,
Yeah.
LA, too much West Coast.